Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Jeremy's Got Fitness Podcast Radio Show, coming to you on this Sunday, August 10th, 2025. Hopefully it finds you staying safe and staying sweaty all at the same time. On today's episode, we are wrapping with Dr. Shannon Forshey. That sounds about right. A couple quick housekeeping things. One, again, you guys know Jeremy's Got Fitness app is live. All my weekly stuff is popping in there every Sunday, which I have to do a little bit later today. 2,000 plus videos, 27 full programs. We just wrapped up the Summer Advanced Metcon, 34 Days to Fit is in there. We're going to load a 50 days of fitness, which we haven't done in a couple years. We're going to do that for the last 50 days of 2025. We just got the old man shredded stuff in as well, which will come in 26. But if you guys are looking to do something right away, kind of just, plug and play, log in there. You can grab a week for free on me, jeremyscottfitness.app. You guys know the drill. And then real quick, just shout out to my homies at AG1. You guys know the one thing I take every single day and I never miss. If you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, and let's be real, that's all of us, this is the one thing I take. I travel with it. I'll be on the road again in a couple of weeks. I take about a handful of sample packs with me. Just grab them, rip them, throw it in some water, and I'm good to go. Again, you guys have to eat real food. You can't eat like an asshole, but if you really want to kind of get all of your vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, all the digestive enzymes in your body, this is an easy way to do it, especially when you're in a pinch. And now they did just come out with a handful of new flavors. So for a million years, it's just been the original. Now they have a citrus, a berry, and a tropical. I already thought it was the best tasting, honestly, in terms of just kind of a nutritional drink. But now if you guys want to try any of the new flavor sample packs, just hit me up. I'll have Monica send you guys some stuff right to your front door. I don't care where you live. We'll get them to you 100% for free. And then if you guys dig them, you can get a year's supply of free vitamin D3 and 5 free travel packs on me when you go to drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott. The link is in the show notes for all that stuff. All the other sponsors are in there too. I just have a million questions to get through today, so I'm not going to waste a bunch of your guys' time. So here we are. Welcome.
Thank you.
If you want to go, we'll go into it. If you want to go origin story or kind of the as far back as you want to go,
Sure.
or what inspired you to be a pediatrician, if you will.
Sure. All the way back. So I am from Arizona. I went to school at U of A. I went to med school at U of A. Did my training up here, and then I wanted to be a pediatrician from the get-go. I actually did love all my rotations in residency or in med school, but I knew that I was going to be a pediatrician. So I've done mostly outpatient medicine for the last 5+ years, meaning I've done being in the clinic setting. I always did some moonlighting with hospitalist where I would take care of kids who were admitted to the hospital. I also like that. I took a little brief stint of time off and worked only as a hospitalist for a couple of years ago. Then went back into the clinic and then finally made the decision to just kind of do both. And so now I have a private practice. It's called a direct primary care practice where I do only in-home visits, pediatric in-home visits. And then I also work a little bit at Phoenix Children's Hospital in the inpatient setting. So I kind of am getting to do both, which has been life-changing. It's been an awesome transition.
So like legit house calls.
Completely legit house calls. I was just saying my folks are from Minnesota, and they were like, oh, this is like when Doc Mouse would come to our house and diagnose strep. That's absolutely what I do. I don't take any insurance. It's all a membership based, but I just show up and have all the stuff and look at kids on the floor and watch them walk around their playrooms or their nurseries or watch them sleep or whatever you need me to do. So it's really, truly old school stuff.
And what is the age group typically you have?
So I will do, pediatricians typically do from birth to, a lot of times they do up until 22, till you go to graduate college, because sometimes it's hard for kids to find an adult doctor when you're going to school somewhere else. And so, usually, but I'll see them through however long they want to see a pediatrician. At some point, you'll age out of me. At some point. So I took care of, part of what I did a while ago was take care of special needs kids. And those kids in the practice I was with, we never discharged. So because a lot of times the adult docs don't know how to take care of an adult Down syndrome kid or an adult kid with cerebral palsy or whatever. So we would take care of them. So I've done kids who were older than me because they didn't age out of my practice.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing as having a kid that's 16, 17 weeks, like going to the pediatrician's office in my monkey brain it was, oh, they're just little kids. And then you see a
Yeah.
kid walk in who's
No.
like 15 with a broken arm. I'm like, oh, these are kids too.
Totally. Sometimes the teenagers will be like, how long do I have to wait in the waiting room with the little tiny chairs and the, play sets or whatever. But as from a medical perspective, from my perspective, I'll see you through, early adulthood.
And maybe that's like, and I'm sure it's different. Obviously, I haven't been a kid in a million years. And obviously, I didn't grow up here. And I feel like, and maybe I'm making this shit up. I could ask my mom or dad. I feel like the guy who delivered me was like my same doctor.
Probably.
For a million years.
Totally. And that, especially in small towns, that's what you were. You were a GP and they did everything. They did OB, they did a little bit of surgery, they did all the adults, they did everybody in the house. And that's pretty typical. And that's kind of what family practice doctors are still trained as. So they sort of do a little bit of everything so they can go out into the kind of rural-ish communities, rural being whatever you want to define it as. In the big city, it's more specialized. So now it's an OB that typically delivers and a pediatrician who does pediatrician, maybe family practice that do kids, internal medicine does adults, family practice does adults. It's a little bit more specialized.
Yeah, it was,
you had a family doc that did everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, your grandparents and you. Yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought of it either because, like, I go here, I just have my normal, but again, we part everything together now, too. So, like, if I have a naturopath, but then I have a normal, I guess if you want to call, like, my insurance primary doctor, like, you kind of mix and match them all together, which is a little different.
Yeah.
So, in terms of just, like, pediatrics, like, how is it in the last, I don't know, maybe the last decade or so? Like, is it changed a lot? Is it similar? Like, are there big moves versus, or maybe like for when you started till like, again, I guess what I'm asking, the internet has changed a lot of things where before, and maybe this is generational. I feel like my grandma and grandpa, maybe not my grandma because she didn't give a fuck. She didn't go to the doctor the last 30 years of her life. She's like, what are they going to tell me?
Right.
And I get the thesis. But then it's like my other grandma would be like, well, the doctor said this. And that was like Jesus was talking to her, where now I'm more like, I'll listen to what you say. And not that I'm smarter because I don't know what you know, but now I can ask 7 other people too.
Totally.
Which I don't know if that was a thing 10 years ago.
No, I would say that has been an evolution since I've started training is, people will come in and says, well, Google says, and there's a lot more information at your fingertips. I mean, just worldwide, but certainly in medicine. So there's definitely been, I don't want to say combating that, but families having way more information than they did, 20 years ago. I would say like the peds part of it kind of has, I think, been the same. I mean, from, it's a volume business. So when you're in a clinic setting, it's all about seeing it. Pediatrics is typically not reimbursed well by insurance companies or by Medicaid. And so you have to see a lot of patients in order to make a good salary and to cover your...
Like a day, what is...
Like 28 to 30 a day.
It's a good clip.
It's a lot. And it's not typically great care because it's quick. It's every 10 minutes you're seeing a new kid. And so, it's very focused. It's what's the problem? What can we talk about? Okay, let's move on. There's not a lot of opportunity to talk about anything that might be outside of the bell curve, right? Like you want to talk about this developmental thing that seems unusual for your kid or this behavioral thing that seems unusual for your teenager or vaccines or whatever. There's just not a lot of opportunity to be able to do that because of the time constraints. So that has I think in the 80s there was sort of the golden days of medicine and that wasn't really the case, but it still is the case now. And that's why you see a lot of pediatric practices being bought by private equity because the docs don't want to handle it. It's hard. You're not making a good income. You just rather have a business person take care of it, be an employee, see your patients and go home and not think about it anymore.
Well, yeah, because when you're doing that, we've talked with other physicians on here too. It's kind of like the system is...
It's broken.
Yeah. And unless you burn the whole thing down, there's really no...
I mean, I think as a country, we got to decide, are we a socialist country or are we capitalist? And then decide how we're going to do that. And right now we're sort of in the middle. Like we're trying to get everybody, services, but you're trying to make money off of this. It doesn't work. And so, it's got to be kind of torn down and restarted because it's a broken system.
Well, when you see that many, like I always give like this as the example here. Like we have about 200 people here I see... relatively like on a weekly-ish basis, whatever. If they all show up when they're supposed to. and I know everybody.
Sure.
It's not that many people. And also you're coming 2, 3, 5, 6 times per week. That's a lot of interactions. Where like on our app, let's say there's a couple thousand people and I don't see you. I don't know you're there unless you're like loud and annoying. That's how I kind of think about like a normal medical practice, where if it's 30 different people Monday, Tuesday, there's no way you can remember me unless I like my primary remember me because like I stick out, I guess, where I'm not the normal, I guess, like 42-year-old dude. Maybe I don't look the same. I don't ask the same questions. And like she trains and I train and they know who you are.
Sure.
But if my kid goes to, he's just another kid who goes there.
Just another kid.
And there's no way they have time for, obviously, to remember who they are, but even like behavior modification, that stuff, it's impossible.
I mean, it really depends on how good your notes are. And I know that when I was in clinic, you just didn't have the time to write down even personal notes of like, okay, dad's a trainer and we talked about this and mom does this. And, you can't even, that's not what you're dealing with. You're dealing with the problem at hand and what you did. And so, yeah, it's hard to develop. I mean, yes, there are families that you remember because you probably see them a lot or you used to have a connection with for whatever reason, but that's unusual. And, if you're working, seeing 120 patients a week, or 150 patients a week, it's a lot.
Yeah, it'd just be tough to mentally like manage
It's a lot.
And tackle it all. That part and the Google piece of, well, Google said this, like, does that drive you guys nuts? Or do you just take it with, well, sometimes it's good stuff, but most of the time it's shit.
Most of the time I say, I usually say to families, if you can pick 2 or 3 people in your life that you're going to listen to, that might be an influencer. Maybe it's your sister that just had a baby. Maybe it's your mom. Maybe it's your nanny. Maybe it's your pediatrician. And then knock out, then close out everybody else. Google is tricky because everything ends with cancer and death. A kid falls down. They could have, be draining cerebral spinal fluid and have a concussion and die. I mean, everything is just a worst case scenario. Yeah. So it's not it's a great screening, I guess, but it's not the most helpful for families. Especially I find that families tend to be very anxious, much more worried just in general. And so then you throw Google in the mix and that tends to be the worst case scenario. And then families really can go sideways from that.
Or now it's like OpenAI or ChatGPT. It's
totally.
the deeper version of it.
It is. And it's just hard to parse out what is real and what you really have to be worried about. And in peds in particular, most of the time kids are fine. Like, I just want to say to families, really, you made it through childhood. Like, most of the time things are okay. And so it's not the worst case scenario.
Well, and that's the hard part too, is I think, and I say this in general of the information. It's, I say this on here all the time. It's a water hose is what you need, but it's like a fire hydrant of shit coming out.
Totally.
And even my wife, bless her heart, will send me stuff sometimes. And I can tell when she's like, either he's like laying there or she's whatever, and she can get on her phone. And then you get down this rabbit hole.
Totally.
And now I have 9 things that I'm supposed to panic about. And I'm like, I don't even have time to read all the, first of all, these videos are longer than 10 seconds. I'm not fucking watching them. I'm like, but it's like when listening to 7 different podcasts.
Right.
And I always say, what am I to do with the information?
Right.
Like, what should I be afraid of everything now forever? And maybe it's because I reverse engineer how I grew up. And I'm not saying that's ideal, but it was I guess having a kid, the car seat thing was like, you got to make sure this car seat is in there perfect. My neighbor across the street's a firefighter. You got to have him come check it. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm pretty sure my dad drove like just a single bed pickup truck.
Right.
And my mom and him took me home in probably like an Easter basket, bro. And I was just, you know what I mean? Like, and somehow we made it here. They didn't do none of this shit.
Right.
And I also then, if you look at anything outside of America too, in terms of like your kids, how they sleep and stuff, your kid has to be in this thing, sleep this way. I go, in India, these guys got some people, 30 people in a house. Yep. You think this kid has its own bassinet and it's in a sleep sack and this shit? I'm like, no, dude. But like if you get into that rabbit hole, it is like this. You'd be afraid to do anything. Yeah,
I think it is hard. And I think a lot of things are cultural. Co-sleeping is definitely cultural. And it's also, what your environment can fit. In China, you may not be able to have a bassinet that's separate from your bed, right? Or in India or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that obviously we try to look for kids' safety. I think, 40 years ago when you were growing up, it was probably more rural than it is in Phoenix. And,
for sure.
So that traffic was less and all the things. And we do have more data and all of that does work. But I do think for things it's just hard for families to determine what works and what doesn't. And I usually talk about, and I think most pediatricians do, these are the recommendations, but really what works for your family. So, if co-sleeping, this is controversial and this is not what the AAP thinks, but if co-sleeping is what works for your family, and I think most families do some sort of form of co-sleeping, that you might be taking a risk. Back to sleep does not explain why kids still die of SIDS, right? SIDS is up to 12 months of age. Well, your baby's rolling at 4. So back at 4 months. So back to sleep, they can roll over at 4 months of age. If a 9-month-old dies of SIDS, back to sleep doesn't explain that. So yes, it's decreased the risk of SIDS, but we're not explaining everything, all the deaths. And so, families have to kind of figure that out on their own. So I always tell families, listen, if co-sleeping with your baby is going to make you not sleep because you're so freaked out, then don't do it, right? Put your baby in a separate location and then sleep well, and your baby sleeps fine and everybody's doing fine.
Yeah.
If it's going to make you upset, you're going to be over the bassinet looking at them all the time because you're so freaked out, you got to do it for what works for you as a family.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing I've noticed is people say things, and I'm like, I always wonder like how much of it's real though too. Like where it's like, this is what you have to do.
I know.
And I'm like, okay, I had this kid in a bassinet, dude, for like the first, I'll just share this story. Like the first week you have him is a nightmare. For me anyway. Because it's like, okay, I'm going to sleep here with an arm in a bassinet, try to keep him like put a pacifier in his mouth or not, or keep him still. And then he moves and he cries. And I go, in my head, I'm like to think I have a good amount of self-discipline and I work pretty hard. I'm like, most people don't do what I do on a daily basis. Like, there's no fucking way you guys are doing this for the long haul. I go, I'm going to die. Like, I can't.
This is not sustainable.
No, I'm not like, this isn't, I'm too old to be in like SEAL training. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do buds when I'm in my 40s. And that's how I felt though. So I'm like, okay, this is what's going to work for us. And I think that becomes probably most people's answer. At the end of the day.
So too. I mean, I think, it's hard because the recommendations are made and they become they're recommendations and they're strict and they're strident. And that's what people put forth to families, but sometimes that doesn't work for the family. And then you create issues that are of their own that are not working for the family, right? So like, and then that takes away the joy of parenting. And you're already sleep deprived and tired and trying to figure it out and adding a new baby into a house that already has 4 kids or whatever. It becomes sort of untenable or can become untenable. Some families can do it great, which is awesome, but some families can't. And I think there's not a lot of flexibility when that is the case.
Well, and I think that too, like, I'll get at these questions eventually, but the comparison thing, because you do have the internet now, and I think, I don't do it because I don't really give a shit. And I think most people are full of shit too, because we do the internet for a living. And not that what we share is not real. I'm like, but if I'm going to share like a workout video, it might be me filming 14 clips in the same day, and I just kind of change clothes and I'm sweaty and the lighting looks good. And so it's like, it sells. And I think that's what most people just do in life. So when you look at that, well, you can't have your kid do this. You can't put your kid in daycare. You can't do this. I'm like, all of these things seem like impossible. And I feel like the mom takes on that way more so.
I agree.
And it's like an impossible thing you're trying to navigate.
Right. And it's a standard that really nobody is doing and nobody can do. It's hard. So yeah, it's unfortunate because I think that we lose the support, especially for new moms, that they are trying to figure out and they want to do everything right as every parent does.
For sure.
And sometimes you're going to make mistakes and your kid will still probably be fine.
Yeah. Well, I always say, I go to my wife, I'm like, I'm pretty sure like at some point my mom or like maybe your mom or my dad was like ripping cigs in the car and we're just driving. Like the wild shit that they did. I'm like, we're not doing that. So
I think my mom took up smoking after she had me and smoked over me, like not for long, as she drank. I mean, like, of course.
Yeah. So I'm like, if we're not doing that, dude, like we're doing okay.
Yeah.
So if I look at, is there like milestones like parents like should monitor, like little things like along the way, like certain things like, hey, I don't know if there's any specifics.
I mean, I would say that is the benefit of a pediatric visit or just routine child visits is because, especially the first year when you're seeing a lot, like, 3 days, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, because those are big developmental ages. And so you can pick up subtleties that maybe a family would miss because especially if it's their firstborn, they don't know. But the key for all of pediatrics is early intervention. So it doesn't matter the label you get, speech delay, autism, cerebral palsy, whatever the label is just a label, but the intervention for that is all early intervention. So early physical therapy, early occupational therapy, early speech therapy, early feeding therapy. All those are early because then kids have the best outcomes. So the earlier you can identify an issue, the better outcome we're going to have in the long term. So yeah, I think that developmental checks are key in pediatrics because you can miss it. And most of the time kids are fine and you don't miss anything. But if you get that one kid and you capture them and they get intervention early and then they never have another issue, it's like golden.
Because at first, in the initial, like you're there at least I felt like that. Like,
All
hey,
the time.
you're here this week, you come here, you come here. I think his next appointment is like in a week from now. He's already been there like 10 times.
Right.
But he's in that 4-month-ish like window, which I see.
And you're wanting to make sure we're gaining weight and breastfeeding is going well and sleeping is okay. All those things that you're trying to set up for good, successful infancy is all important to discuss. So yeah, I think it's important.
And that's the one too, like the breastfeeding or like formula stuff or the hybrid, because that's a huge one too, where it's like we've had even moms here where they've had like 3 kids. One kid, they breastfed him. The other one, there's just no milk there. And they're like, then they panic and they're like, well, what the fuck? And I'm a dude, obviously, so take it as I'm like, just get him whatever, dude. Like, and which is weird because like then we, like for us, like, okay, if she can feed him sometimes and this is the question too, like if he sleeps, if he's formula, he sleeps better because he knows he's getting more. And I'm like, well, we'll buy the Bobby, like organic shit, whatever. My pediatrician's like, we give our kid like the Kirkland shit, whatever. I'm like, well, if this dude's doing the Kirkland stuff, like this is a Wild West, man. I'm like, so that's the question, I guess, like how do you answer that for people?
Yeah, I again ask the mom what she wants to do. So
that's a big commitment for the mom to breastfeed.
I just want the baby fed.
Yeah.
I don't care. I know the AAP recommends breastfeeding up to 2. Again, that's a great recommendation, but for some families, that doesn't work. And for some moms, that doesn't work. And for some baby, so the first baby is breastfed, but then you have a second, now you have a toddler running around, you're trying to breastfeed the infant. Sometimes that doesn't work, or mom goes back to work, or whatever the life circumstances are. It's just, I say this every time I see a new mom, you have your whole life to feel guilty about the decisions you make as a parent. We do not start with breastfeeding, whatever, just feed the baby. I don't care. So I don't care. I eat whatever works, if the mom wants to breastfeed, I will 100% support that. If they want to do both, I personally, and this is a big difference with lactation, I don't believe in nipple confusion. I feel like babies figure it out. I suck like this on this nipple. I suck like this on this nipple. They don't care. They can I think evolutionarily it makes sense that a baby would be able to eat in any form, whether that's a breast nipple or a bottle nipple.
Yeah.
And I feel like babies figure it out. So whatever the family wants to do works for me. I don't think that there is a superior formula than any other. I think that a lot of them are labeled under different companies, like they're all made under
sure.
Nestle, and then they're labeled differently.
Yeah.
So I do have, if something isn't tolerated, then I have you switch. I think that that's a reasonable thing. I also think cheap is probably fine. Kirkland variety is probably fine.
Well, it's the supplement industry where
Totally.
a lot of these guys use the same manufacturing plant and
Exactly.
it's whatever.
Yeah. So I just want the mom to be supported and feel good about it. And I want the baby to gain weight. That's what I care about. Ultimately, I just want them to get bigger. That's it. So
Well, yeah, because as a dude, obviously, like not having a kid before, I didn't know the breastfeeding commitment.
I know.
That seems like a prison that I would not want to personally live
really
in.
hard. And some moms love it, in which case I'm like, fantastic. It's all working out for you. I think it's rare that breastfeeding comes together in the first 24 hours. I do think sometimes it takes time for that all to come together. And that is a time, the first week of life is a hard time anyway. And so I think that can be really stressful and overwhelming. And crying over breastfeeding, I think is such a disservice to a mom, a breastfeed in a country where we have good options. So I just don't get too mired down by it. I don't think it serves anybody well. So.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing until a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I found out the hard way.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, your wife is crying in the bathroom because she feels like she's a failure, and it's been 2 weeks of being a parent, and it's just not. It's not conducive.
Well, it seems like, especially if you're going to do like the pumping stuff, and it's like, well, our friends got these pumps, and I got to put these things together, and they're like these robot boobs basically. And it's like, well, this one is kind of full and then this one, nothing comes out. And I'm like, that seems like
I know.
at 2 a.m, like if you're like that's where the part, like in a perfect world, like it's like in fitness, how hard is it to be fit? I'm like, well, if you didn't have a job and no kids and you had unlimited money, like it's not that difficult. I'm
Right.
like, but in the real fucking world, like it's really tough to do.
Right.
It's the same thing I think about like when you're a kid, like, yeah, when he screams at 3 p.m, it's not the worst thing in the world. When he's going nuts at 1:45 and you haven't slept, it's like, oh, this sucks. Dude.
Right. And you see why people shake babies. Like I never really understood that until I became a parent, but I had a tricky sleeper and I was like, oh, it's not that people want to hurt. They want it to stop. They just are tired and you can't make this thing right. You can't fix it. And that's hard. And you're not at your best. It's hard.
No. And it's, well, I thought like most things in life, I'm like, he's trying to beat me. Like I thought it was like a game. Like, oh, he's trying to win.
Right.
And I'm like,
he's manipulating
you're not gonna break me, bro.
Yeah.
You can cry all day.
Yeah.
But then in your head, you're like, they're not an adult.
No.
So he's crying because his foot itches.
Something is wrong.
Or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so like,
It's the only form of communication.
Yeah, let's do 18 different things
Right.
and maybe one of them is the thing.
Right.
But it's when you're smoked.
Yeah.
And it's just the intensity of it
Yeah.
in the moment and the duration.
The duration, I think, if you were 2 days, you'd be like, oh, I could do this for 2 days. But when you think, oh my God, this could be for the next 3 months, it's hard.
Yeah. Or when you're in because my kid, like they say he's a happy baby and he seems, I don't only know because he's the only one that I've ever had. So it seems like he is until he's not.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've maybe only had like 3 times where it's like, you can't get him to, and it's usually like coming back from San Diego, you're on the I-10, 37 minutes to your house.
Right.
We're fucked.
Everybody's melting down.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm like, Heather, I don't know what you want me to do. Or like I don't know if I can say this on here. Like we're in Portland or coming. He's been on a couple of flights now. He's relatively good. And I figured I might as well do it now before you can like crawl and move around and shit. But we're coming back from Bend, Oregon to Portland and he's in the back and he's just done. And it's like, now she's climbing in the back seat and she's back there like, well, what do I do? Can I take him out of the car seat? Can I do whatever? Cause I'm like, but I can't stop the car. And you're just kind of in this, and I'm like, yeah, this moment sucks. Where like I'll just kind of like accept it as it comes. But for the next, 28 minutes, it's not going to stop.
Right.
And I'm like, and you feel bad for them too, because then like they kind of cry, and you're like, oh fuck, dude.
I know.
But it's like sometimes you're just in it, man.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's different.
Hard. Yeah.
So with the I guess the diet stuff, like as they get older, obviously like they move from like the formula to like solid foods. Is there like obviously a healthy diet? I would assume is just it's as much like real type food as they can get as time goes. Is there like obviously the world nowadays, because most people's diets are a trash can, and there's that piece. Like, is there like a sugar amount that's too much, or like anything you have them look at in terms of like, I don't know, even like protein goals as like the kids kind of move up and stuff?
Yeah. So there aren't specific things I typically give to parents, again, because I don't want to overwhelm them with like try to hit 20 grams of protein a day. But certainly for introduction of foods, families can do kind of whatever they want. There's baby-led weaning, which is whole foods, actually giving like a giant avocado, having the baby hold it and just play with it and rub it in their eyes, and but it's a huge chunk of it.
Yeah.
And then there's pureed foods, which can be fed to the baby. I think most families, or most of my families, kind of do a combination. They do a little bit of whole foods and a little bit of pureed foods. And I usually say, you want a whole diet. And I think most families are interested in whole foods. I make carrots, mush up carrots, give the baby carrots, right? Like they're not interested in a lot of processed foods at that age. The toddler age becomes a little bit trickier because goldfish are easy, and graham crackers are easy. And that's something that, and at that age, a lot of times kids stop eating kind of the good foods. But if you can keep a well-varied diet, introducing that and keep that going, and sometimes that means trying a food more than 20 times before a child will even put it to their lips, and then another 20 times before they actually eat it. So you're having to do it a lot because families kind of give up, right? Oh, they don't like peas because they didn't like it 3 times. You have to keep trying. So continuing to give whole foods as a good diet, even in the toddler years, is really kind of key. But I don't typically restrict. I don't typically go, you have to do, because again, that's a thing that will then freak families out. Like, I didn't do, 5 grams of protein today. And I'm just like, you got enough.
Just get them to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Just do a well-varied diet. If you got a good diet over a couple of weeks, you're doing fine. Just keep at it.
And like as they get older, if they're like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, is it just like, hey, you let them kind of, or do you even give them advice at that point? I don't know, like, because my take would be like, it's a business, right? Like, so you need to help these guys.
Yes.
But they can't hate you too.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think nutrition is key. And sort of when I was in school, taught. I think now it's a little bit more in the curriculum, which is awesome. So yeah, when they're a little bit older and starting through puberty, and especially I think boys tend to want to start to work out, and then we sort of talk about protein goals and things like that, because as you start through puberty, you've got developing bones and muscles and all that kind of stuff. But again, with kids, it's hard because you give them a restriction or you give them a goal, and then if they don't meet it, they have a hard time with that. And so I tend to be a little bit more global. Like, you don't do energy drinks, because not a lot of caffeine.
And if a parent came and they were like specific, like a psycho, and they were like, I don't mean it like in a negative way. I'm not there yet. I wouldn't be that parent. I just say, but maybe.
No, but you eat well, and that's what you want to model to your kids.
Well, I would be more so like, I don't want to overfeed them. Like as an adult, like for me, 200 plus grams of protein is like what? Because it's like if you're going like 0.8 grams to 1 gram of like pound per body weight, I'm probably at 220 grams per day. I go, but I tolerate that, and I know that. If your kid's 130 pounds and he's 13, is he eating 130 grams?
No.
Is that too much?
It's a little too much for the kidneys. Yeah. So it's about 1 gram per kilo. So it's, I would say more like 75. So it's a little bit less because remember those kidneys are still developing too.
Sure.
And they don't have all the muscle mass. Again, I reduce it a little bit.
Not that you
could
track it, because like at 13, dude, I'm eating fucking Tombstone pizzas and Capri Suns.
Right.
It's like
it's a little bit hard to get. Although what they see with kids is that what's modeled in the home is typically how kids are going to eat. I mean, yes, are they going to have pizza with their friends? Sure.
For sure.
But if you're eating, whole food diets at home and your diet is healthy, they're probably going to be healthy. I do talk about with families just setting up the expectation when they're young. Kids eat when they're hungry and they stop when they're full. So they self-regulate, and that's babies too. So that one day we only want strawberries, the next day strawberries are poisonous. It's fine. Let the kid sort of dictate that because they tend not to overeat. So really letting the kid sort of dictate that, as long as you're not filling them with liquid or empty calories like juice and lots of milk.
Well, it's because obviously my parents had no education on food whatsoever. Sure. And I grew up in the era of like, well, hey man, put some Pop-Tarts in a Mountain Dew and go sit at the bus stop.
Open up a can of corn.
Yes,
yeah, right.
Dude, when you say that, dude, this is no joke. And my parents were divorced, so I live like my dad some of the time. And he's have you seen Gran Torino?
Yes.
That's him.
Yeah.
Just with like biker tattoos on his arms. And so this is my dad. And drove a truck forever. Come home. He'd be like, dinner is like legit. We had these glass bowls. It was a can of fucking Jolly Green Giant corn with salt and butter. Sure. And boom, here you go. And drink a Pepsi.
Right.
And I'd be like, I don't want that. And he'd be like, okay, just wait, bro. Right. You'll eat it. I mean, sometimes we like SpaghettiOs with like cut up hot dogs and shit. But like sometimes a can of, dude, there's no nutrients in that.
No.
Like first of all, canned fruits and vegetables are trash.
Right.
There is not, I don't know if there's a vitamin. I mean, there's probably like trace, but there's nothing in there.
Right.
And you just shit that out.
Right.
Like there's, like I'm like, how am I mean, it's probably I'm so lean still at this old age because I'm like, fuck, I was like starving my whole life. But that was my dad growing up. Obviously
and that was the culture.
Yeah.
Like it was all about quick foods and yeah.
It's way different. So it's like you have to, and I'm not judging any parents, do whatever you want to do with your kids. It's your life. But I do think I had to unlearn all that shit as an adult because not that I want to go drink Capri Suns and eat fruit by the foot right now, but it sounds like nostalgic and good in my brain somehow. Even though I know I would feel like a trash can if I ate it. If I didn't grow up doing that routinely, I wouldn't start doing that at 25 or 26.
Right.
And I think that's probably the biggest piece of it.
Right.
In terms of, I guess, like vitamins or like probiotics and things for kids, like.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's lots of good studies out there about probiotics and the gut and just gut health in general. So I do recommend it. And I actually do put kids on it even in infancy. And I think the studies in infancy are a little more sparse, but it just can't hurt. I just feel like so prebiotics and probiotics, both, I think they have good immune response. You know, we are having so much more awareness of the gut connection and the immune system and treating the gut well so that you can be healthier overall. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend it.
And then is there, I guess in that kind of that same line, is there a time where if they come and say, hey, my kid wants to like strength train versus not just like, hey, play basketball or gymnastics or jiu-jitsu, but he wants to start jack and steel in the context of like what a kid would do. Like, is there a certain age where like, yeah, it's cool at 10 or it's cool at 13?
Yeah, I know. I struggle with that because I don't really know. Yes, I think that
and
kids
every kid is.
Yes, and I think that kids can do it. I would say that there should be, it should be cautiously doled out.
Again, like,
because you have developing bones and all that kind of stuff. But yes, I mean, if they want to work out, it's a good, healthy lifestyle and you're training because you're a good baseball player. And so you want to try to gain some muscle mass. Sure. I think it's a reasonable thing to throw into a kid's regimen. You know, I also talk about, again, kids tend to be overscheduled. And so, you know, we need to have a balance. They also need to just have time to just sit and vegetate. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to overschedule them. But yes, I think it's a great thing to put in a kid's
You do
day.
say that, and it is, I think it's kind of like both ends of the spectrum too, like with that. And obviously when I say strength training, it's in term, I don't know, like when we were in like 6th grade, you took like weightlifting class and you're doing just dumb shit. But that's what dudes do.
Sure.
Like dudes go in like whose dick is the biggest, and that's going to be until you're maybe forever. I mean, some guys, I got friends that still like we do. It's an ego thing. I get that. But with the kids stuff, the scheduling, it's weird because I think you get a spectrum now of there's kids who, because of technology and stuff, really don't do shit.
Totally.
But then, I don't want to call him out. There's a dude we know, and he gave his kid's schedule, and it sounded worse than mine. And I've worked, maybe not now because I'm a little bit older, but there was like weeks where I'd work 100 hours a week. And I would train, like, feel like I got hit by a bus. Like, and that's me in my late 20s, 30s, like trying to just build all of this stuff. But the kid is 10. Like, hey, he goes to lacrosse, then he goes to this and this and this. And I'm like, if they love it, I guess. But like, that seems excessive too.
I think it's hard. And I think it's hard for families to balance that. And I think it's hard for kids to balance that, right? Like if all their friends are doing that, then how do you tell a kid you can't do that? I heard somebody that I thought was such a good way of looking at it is that you sit down as a family and say, okay, does adding another baseball team or, softball team or whatever, does that make sense for us as a family? And that might be that one kid can do it, but the rest of the family would suffer from that, adding that practice in or adding that sport in or whatever. So I think looking at it for a group collective decision is a way to kind of manage some of that. But yeah, I think kids do need some downtime, just free time. And I'm not anti-exercise. They should be out running around, not on a screen, but also just hanging out time with family and free time and eating family dinners and all that kind of stuff is also important. So, but it is hard. It's hard for families to balance it because there's a lot of opportunity for kids.
Well, every kid too is different. Even if I go back to the training part, like there's a kid here, he's like, hey, can you kind of write up what it would look like for him to eat if he was going to gain weight. The kid's 14, but he's 6'4". He's 185 pounds. Dude, I was a senior in college playing sports, and I'm still not 6'4", mm-hmm. and I was probably 180 pounds then. And I'm like, your kid's 14, dog, but he's in grown man body.
Yeah.
So that's different for him training versus the kid who's 13. That's probably like what I was, 5'2", 100 pounds.
Right. And he's probably gone through, his growth plates are probably closed and he's going to start to build muscle mass now because that's what boys do. And so that's a different conversation than, the short 5'2", 14-year-old boy.
Yeah, because you're in your man body.
Right.
Not really,
right.
but it started.
Right, totally. You've gone through puberty.
And with the sports piece too, because obviously that makes a huge difference where some of these, and there's no judgment here, like do whatever is best for you. Like obviously I played all of the stuff too, so it's like we would play, in the summertime traveling baseball. But you'd go to like your 7 or 8 tournaments, most of them were within like an hour or so. Now these kids are you're in the elite level platinum fucking diamond team and they're going to Vegas and Utah, whatever. And that's awesome that you guys have the money and the time for your kid to do that. But that's become like this whole, it's a lot of it's a scam, to be honest with you. Like it's just a moneymaker for these programs because trust me, there's not that many good kids out there. And I don't mean that negatively. If it keeps your kid off drugs and you guys have fun, I think it's amazing. But not all of you guys are going to make it. Like it's just statistically, it's not a thing.
It's so different. It's so hard. I have 3 girls, and one of our girls played college softball, and she, we started them all in softball when they were, I think, 9, and by 11, it was clearly that was going to be her thing.
Yeah.
But we made her play other sports really through high school because I was like, you have to be well-rounded. You can't, and we made her do, theater, and we made her do other things because I said, you just can't specialize. And when they put her on a recruiting trip when she was 14 for college, I lost my mind. I was like the worst mother.
But she loved it though?
She loved it.
Yeah, and that's cool.
She loved it, but it was so much time. And I'll tell you that the rest of us, well, my husband didn't, but her sisters and I are done with softball. Like it just burned us all out. We were there all the time. I mean, it was every weekend, 365 days. It was too much.
Yeah.
And that's what all the teams were doing. And so it is hard. It's definitely hard. But if your kid loves it, then they love it. And then, but I think having a balance just in life in general is a good thing and good thing to teach your kid.
Well, the risk of injury goes down dramatically when the kids play multiple
Correct.
sports.
Yeah, you build other muscle groups and, you're not having repetitive injuries and stuff. I mean, it did come to a point where she was like, I can't do volleyball and softball and do, club ball.
As you get older, you gravitate towards
it is. And
your
I
thing.
get that. But for a while, we made her do it for probably longer than she wanted to.
Well, and it's your life then too.
It is.
Like I always joke, like, "Why my dad's so mad all the time?" And there's multiple reasons, but I remember, in my head, it comes around it's like he works a shitty job all week that he hates, obviously, and then it's Saturday, and he's driving to nowhere, Wisconsin, watching this shitty basketball tournament that I play a game at 8:00 in the morning, and the next game's not till
4.
2. Yeah. And he's antisocial anyway, so he's got to sit there and not talk to anybody. And there's no iPhones, no iPads, no music. He's just raw dogging it for 6 hours. And I got to watch this kid play a shit. First of all, you're in 6th grade. You suck. You're not, even if you're good, it's not good to watch. And I'm like, oh, that's why his life sucked. I get it. And now it's part of it.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. It is a lot though.
So if I go with that part too, obviously the kid's doing a lot of stuff. There's a recovery piece of it, sleeping and those things. How much sleep for the kids, kind of as they move? I'm sure that shifts a ton. And I've heard different things where, again, it's just, obviously it's anecdotal, or maybe there are studies I glanced at of even kids, high school kids, if school started later, it'd be more beneficial for them than, because I would always, my mom, bless her heart, high school, at the end, I'm done. I hated school. If I didn't play sports, it was never going to happen anyway. But as soon as basketball is over, I really didn't really want to go. The early shit I would struggle, and I'd stay up too late doing stupid stuff. So my mom would pretend I had a dentist appointment. So I would roll into school 9 versus 7:30.
Yeah.
And I just felt, and now I get up at 4 every day, but I'm an adult and the responsibilities. But I felt like that was always. It was just too early for me.
Yeah, I think they did it. They tried to do it at one school. I can't remember what high school. They tried to do that here and have kids start later, but they couldn't do it with sports because sports started at 3:30. Every other school, started at 3:30. So that school was missing sports. But there is a real thing with teenagers. Their circadian rhythm is really set to go to bed late, get up late. Really, truly, that's their body's clock. And so it is sort of a disservice to kids to make them get up at 6 a.m. to do, a teenager to get up at 6 a.m. to do high school. I try to tell families, good sleep hygiene, same consistent bedtime, even during the week and the weekends. Trying to get consistent sleep is key. I mean, I think people are more in tune with sleep now than they were, 15 years ago even, but it's hard. And if you're overscheduling a kid and a kid is hitting the door at 9:00 at night, after all the practices and then has an hour of homework and you're going to bed at 10:30 and then we're getting up at 6. I mean, it becomes a kind of a snowball effect. So being aware that sleep also helps with growth and behavior and development and all the things is part of it.
And I'm assuming kids are similar to where with adults, the hours pre-midnight are just as vital, if not more so, than the ones even after midnight.
And no screen time an hour before bed and all those same, tenets that we have as adults, we recommend for kids. It's hard. And now it's hard because homework is done on the computer and, obviously so much of your life is on your cell phone and stuff, but if kids are doing online school or whatever, they're watching a screen, and all that affects their ability to sleep.
So that, I guess my question is, what is the healthy approach then to screen time, whether it be, toddlers or teenagers and that shit? Because even my kid, he's 4 months, he knows it's there. Not the phones, but in our nursery, we put a TV in there because I'm like, Heather, you're going to be stuck in there, feeding him. It's helpful. And she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And most of them, she's just listening to this awful country music. I'm not a fan. I go, but he knows it's on. And I don't even know if he can see the screen most of the time, but you can, whether it's a light or the noise. And then obviously when we do, I was having watch Rocky 4 the other day. This is important. Mm-hmm. I go, but he knows it's there. And obviously, how do you handle that when they're like, hey, my kid's on the screen for X amount of hours a day? Do you tell parents anything?
I mean, this is hard stuff, right? These are hard decisions you have to make as a parent. I teach a parenting class, and we had a toddler class, and they were like, what about screen time in our toddlers? And I was like, if your kid is watching Miss Rachel, who is, or, Baby Einstein, who's like, this is a duck, and you're trying to get ready, taking a shower or making dinner for 30 minutes, I think it's fine. I don't think you're doing any damage to your kid. If you're placing your kid in front of a TV for 8 hours as your babysitter, I think that's a different conversation. But, sometimes it's what we can do to make a phone call in the middle of the day in order to get our child to be still for 20 minutes or whatever. So I think it's a losing battle to say no screen time. That's not
realistic.
No, it's not realistic. And again, sets families up for failure and makes them feel terrible. So I think having limits and maybe what you watch, I certainly think keeping the cell phone out, in the kitchen in a common area for a teenager is wise. Going through their phone, going through their tablets and their things, because they're way smarter about technology than their parents ever will be. And they'll know how to hide it. And so putting limits on that and making sure that you're monitoring that. I mean, that's a full-time job in and of itself, but I do think it serves you well. I didn't let my girls have social media until they graduated high school, which was the biggest
How old are they
fight.
now?
They are 26. And it was the biggest fight we ever had. And they would say that they were socially stunted because at the time when they were in high school, it was Facebook. And I was like, I don't care. If you want to be invited to a party, somebody can actually come up to you and talk to you and invite you to the party. Otherwise, you're not going. It was really hard
to hate you guys.
They didn't hate my husband because he was like, whatever mom says, but one of them was so mad at me. Yeah. And she said it was the right thing to do. Now she will say out of college, but I said it was too much. I said, you adults don't understand the power that they have on their phone. They post stuff all the time that gets them into trouble. How would you expect a 12-year-old to understand what they can do, what's appropriate and what's not? It's a burden that a kid, if you can do it, which I understand is not realistic anymore. It is, but the longer you can wait. I think they have that wait till 8, which is when they're in 8th grade, to get them a smartphone. The longer we can push that out, the better, because it's hard.
Well, yeah, because you're basically Amish. And everybody else is
totally.
Living in
completely.
You're just.
I was the strict parent. We were the strict family. But I was just like you. It's just you can't do. I have girls. I just thought they don't need to be on. And at the time, Instagram wasn't a thing. But if it had been a thing, I would have been like, you don't need to be on Instagram looking at what other girls look. Whatever, all of it. It would be hard for them.
No, it's I always say because how old are you? Can I ask you?
Yeah, you can. I got to think. I just had a birthday. I think I'm 57.
Yeah, so you're...
Yeah, that's right. I'm 57.
So obviously you grew up without it. So did I.
Mm-hmm.
We're the last generation of people who didn't have it. Mm-hmm. So we got it for business, obviously. And
yeah,
I'm thankful for it because it's financially changed our life forever. This podcast, all these different things. But my self-confidence wasn't made in it.
Right.
So by the time I had it, and for us, critical mass would be hey, you do this video for Men's Health, 9 million people see it.
Right.
Which is super fucking cool, right? However, when 1% of those people tell you suck,
right,
that's 900 people telling you should jump off the building.
Well, and your brain is wired to remember the negative.
Yeah.
And a developing brain, and I don't know if, a female developing brain may be worse for that, but it
would be way worse as a female, I think, because again, for that platform, we're just critiquing, everything, even how I talk and sound, but what I look like specifically.
Right.
And even the positive comments, you're not wired for that. Because then you walk around feeling like you're the shit. And like, maybe you kind of are, but maybe you're not, And so it's like the ego part of it is terrible. And the negative stuff, we make funny, like mean comments about Jeremy videos. Like those ones are actually funny. But because you have to, because there's the only way you can take that. Now, however, I'm doing that at 35.
Right.
I'm not doing that at 15.
Right.
That would be like,
or 12.
It would cripple you, dude.
Right. It's just, I just think it's hard. I mean, I think and that's a big conversation that families have to have. And again, make the decisions for what works for them. But going back to the screen time thing, I just think being aware of what screen time looks like in your family is
like the volume.
Yeah. And just the time. Right? Like maybe everybody puts their phone away at dinner and y'all have a conversation at dinner or at breakfast or whatever, mealtime works for your family. Maybe you watch a movie as a group and everybody's off their whatever it is, just to be aware because they're not going away. They're going to be in our life. I mean, the AAP recommends no screen time until you're 2. Again, I don't know any family that does that. And then an hour a day. Again, when you're talking about homework, even, I mean, kids are on their screens for homework. And so I think that, we've got to be a little bit more cognizant that this is here to stay. And what we don't really know the damage we're doing, but they're here. So we got to figure out how to balance it.
Yeah, it is wild to see. Because even the kids here, like Monica, who works with me, has 3 kids. And I've kind of grew up with all of them. One's 16, 9, and Kobe's 4. And even him at 4, he's can run everything.
Totally. I mean, my husband pretends like he can't do an iPhone, and I'm like, really? Because an 18-month-old can do a tablet. Like they know how to turn it on, flip. They can figure it out.
Take
so
pictures,
it's intuitive.
do everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're really, and then you get into teenagers who are really smart at all of it, and so then they're hiding stuff, and I mean
they can get onto every site you can get on.
Totally.
Which
parental blocks. They're like, please.
It would be catastrophic, dude. At like 13.
Yeah.
As a dude or I mean dudes are just creeps. So there's that.
I mean, it's a different thing with boys, I think, but I think for both, boys and girls, it's a tool and it's a powerful tool, but I think you can get in trouble with it.
And the comparison piece, I think, is catastrophic for kids because it's just you live in this vacuum of it's not reality.
Well, and also like when I wasn't invited to a birthday party, I didn't know. Or I knew the next day at school or whatever. But this posting of like, you've missed out and you've been,
FOMO shit.
Yeah. And you've been bullied. And all of it is just like so multi-layered and complicated. And so.
But what if your kids were like younger now? Like it's obviously like
I know it's
so, like our niece is going to be in high school and she I think is going to get social media finally as like a freshman.
Yeah, reasonable.
And she's like the nicest kid. I don't know if she's weird or like because I only know her.
Sure.
I'm like, I say that like with all the love in the world.
No, but you don't know if she's like socially different from the rest of her peers. She probably is a little bit. Yeah, but also is she well adjusted? Probably.
And that's what I wonder too. Like, are you better off with it? Because it's like you do learn all this other bullshit that you don't really need to see. And you can get, like we call it post and ghost. Like I post and then I get off because I would get down the same rabbit hole too.
Totally.
Now I'm watching like 18 videos on Michael Jordan from 1987. And I'm like, do I really need to watch another one of those?
Right.
Like it's cool.
Right.
But now 24 minutes of my day went by.
Right. How much time have you lost? Yeah, I would, if I were doing it all over again now with all of the social media, I probably would just try my best to wait as long as possible. And that might be just my own tolerance of like, maybe I give in at 6th grade because I just can't take the fight anymore. Or maybe, maybe we do Facebook, which isn't really all that big with kids, but it's at least something. And then
some guardrails.
Yeah. I mean, but I think I would try as long as possible, knowing I was going to lose the battle. I mean, you're going to lose it. It's just a matter of when. Yeah.
And as a parent, you would probably still like troll through the accounts.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, I said to our girls, like, these phones are ours. They're not a right. They are a privilege. And the first thing that will go if you mess up is this phone. Like they were the last to get a smartphone and they got it for 8th grade graduation. They were so mad at us. And I was like, it is mine.
Kids really get an iPhone like in 5th grade and shit?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, iPhones were just coming out when my girls were going through school.
Now they do.
Yeah. They get
a 5th grader has an iPhone? Mm-hmm. Isn't that bonkers?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't have anything.
And then we kept them out in the kitchen and I went through them. But I said I did.
I think you have to, even like the messages and stuff, just because it's, I don't know, like I feel girls too. Girls are way meaner than dudes.
Yeah.
Like high school girls.
Yeah.
That's ruthless.
Yeah. And I know that my girls would have, I said, if you download an app, it's mine. Like, I will take this phone from you. They didn't. I just can't believe they didn't but whatever, they didn't. And so I didn't have to battle it. But I know that people can hide it and, all this, I don't know, delete things you can't find. I don't know. Like, again, I don't know. So, but I would say as long as possible, knowing you're going to lose.
I like that. If I touch on the sleep thing just before I forget this part, like night nurses, sleep training, when, do's, don'ts, things like that. Any opinions?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's sleep trainers are great because they do the work for you, and that sometimes removes you from the just stress of sleep training. I think any method really works fine. I think it's just a matter of how quickly you want to get it done. You just let them cry it out. It'll probably get done faster. If you kind of, go in intermittently or sleep next to their bed and then move yourself out, that just takes longer. I think it all works.
Yeah.
I think, usually around 4 months or so, babies should be able to sleep through the night on their own, figure it out, soothe themselves, put themselves back to sleep for the most part.
Yeah.
So I do think that, they say you shouldn't say babies are manipulating, but I would say they are aware enough to know, I make this sound, somebody comes running. They figure that out, and so they continue to do that. So, I think sleep training is helpful because I think it helps put everybody back on track. If parents can get good sleep, let's do it.
Yeah, like I don't feel my kid, I think last night he slept till 5 a.m. Which my wife is like up at 3 because he normally gets up at 3, and then she's on, looking at the clock doing that bullshit. So she has creating her own problems. I go, but for the most part, like if he gets up once, like the once I think is fine.
Agreed.
It's always the 2 would murder me.
Sure.
Like, hey, bro, we put you down at 9. It's 1:06, and then it's 3:30.
Yeah.
Like that's where
That's brutal.
Yeah, especially on the days I get up at 4, it's not as bad, I guess. He kind of screws me out of like a half hour sleep, but still, it's like the in between,
Right.
where I'm like, that's not fun.
Right. Yeah, I always tell families like it would be great if they did the 6 hours, 7 to midnight to 6 a.m. But sometimes they do it 7 to 1, which is not as helpful as the in the middle of the night. But yeah, I think sleep training is good. I think sometimes the sleep trainers really just give you a schedule. That's what you're paying for. Some of the night nurses, are expensive, and I don't know that a lot of families can afford it, but they get the job done.
Like, what is it? What is it? Probably $30 an hour or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a lot.
Yeah.
It can add up.
It's substantial.
But if you value your sleep, and I have a family who's like, we chose sleep. And I was like, great. And, they got it done. And they got it done early. And I was like, and the baby's doing just fine. So,
like I say, it's expensive, but if it was like, if you were to offer me the money.
Yeah.
No, bro. Like I'm not coming to your house, hanging out with your kid
at 2 a.m. Right?
Hell no. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of them now if they set a schedule and then like kind of like text you and do that support type stuff, but the actual in-home, that seems like it'd be murder for sure, which is interesting.
And I guess if you can do it, if you have a split house, and your bed is on one side and the baby's on the other side, and you don't hear them. I mean, it was hard in our house because they were right next door, and I would have been like up and at the door because I could have heard everything. So,
well, even if I can sleep through some of it, if the monitor's in the same room and he goes on for, it's eventually it'll get you.
Sure.
But at first I did sleep in a whole different, because I'm like, this is
brutal.
Well, because it's so much consistently. I'm like, she goes back to work in like a couple weeks, so she's had this whole time, which has been great. But I'm like, I come to work every day.
Yeah.
And I'm dying, dude.
Yeah.
And it's fine on the day. Like, nothing I do here is saving lives. So it's like, if I'm tired, these guys are fine. But if you come on here and I sound like a complete dumbass the whole time, like then it starts to really affect my day. And your brain is slow.
Totally.
It's like I'm typing an email, but it's like.
I had a dad who was like, he was a new dad. He was like, I don't know if I'm sick or if it's just sleep deprivation. And I was like, it's sleep. Yeah. He's like, I just feel awful. I'm like, yeah, that's no sleep.
It should be, it's classified, I don't know if they classify it as torture or not, but like sleep deprivation. It's
right.
Because if you think about it, if I said, hey, what's more catastrophic? If you miss a workout for 3 days in a row or don't sleep for 3 days in a row? You can miss 3 workouts and you're fine.
Right.
3 days of not sleeping, you are hanging on by a thread, dude. Like, everything is rough.
I also say that, some babies need to cry to put themselves to sleep. So crying is okay. No baby's ever died from crying. So, get practice and how to put ourselves to sleep. Babies have to practice. And
when it's like that version of it, eventually, like they do get tired.
They do.
Like, they're not. I always tell my wife, I go, he's not a robot. Like
Right.
he's gonna, and he'll do it now. Then he'll be okay.
Yeah. And I think the dads tend to be a little bit more
She
tolerant.
feels so bad.
Yes.
She's like, oh my God. And because then they'll cry. He's like, I feel so bad. I go, he's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like he's faking it. He's not faking it, but it's not.
Dads are a little bit more tolerant. Moms tend to be a little bit more reactive and a little bit want to go in and soothe and help.
So fast. Yeah. She's like, hurry up. And I'm like, Heather, if I run these 4 feet or walk, it's the same pace. You know what I'm saying? She's like, it's like trying to beat your GPS.
Yeah.
You're going to get there at 137 no matter what you go. But she feels that. And I get it. She's the mom. So there's that piece of it.
Yes.
But also like a lot of it, like he's going to get soothed. He's going to be fine. It's just, I get it. It feels like forever in the moment. So
it does.
Just real quick, daycares, nannies, whatever works.
Yeah. I think they both have their pluses and minuses. I think that it's really whatever works for the family.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's a time frame of like you absolutely shouldn't have daycare because some families can't afford that. They have to go back to work at 6 weeks and that's all you've got option. It's great.
What is the average most? Is it 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
I think a lot of times it's 6 paid and then 6 unpaid. So maybe 12 weeks. But a lot of families, don't have any time and then they have to go back.
Like as a dude, I get it because you don't physically do anything. I mean, people are like, oh, you had a kid. I'm like, well, I was there. I didn't. It was like, so my wife had a vaginal birth. And I'm like, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Bro, it's like rips, it tears. It's
Right.
like there's blood. I'm like, this is nuts.
It's not without.
I walked out of there and worked out the next day. She's just coming back now.
As
4
walking.
months. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, so there's that piece of it. So I don't know. I guess to go back as a woman within a month is fucking nuts, dude.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, it's
because you're a zombie, dude.
Yeah.
You're not even a person.
No, and you're not even figuring out how to balance all of it yet. And every developmental stage is different. So every time you figure it out, the kid changes, and then you have to figure out something new, some new stage. But the more time, the better for families. But a lot of times that's not the case. But daycare or nanny, to me, doesn't matter.
Yeah, because I went to daycare, and I'm not that. I mean, I'm messed up, but I'm not crazy. And the things that are bad about me, I don't think it was because of the daycare lady.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna blame Bonnie because I got my issues.
Right.
And so we have a nanny that started a week ago.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I offered it on day number 1. I'm like, if you wanted to come, more so my wife doesn't act crazy to me when I come home, so everything is just easier.
Right.
And the fact that that person wants to do that, that's nuts to me.
Yeah.
Shows up, is happy.
Yeah.
Let me read to your kid.
Right.
Change
Take care of your
his
baby.
shitty diaper. I'm like, this is fun for you? I like him, he's fun. But it's when it's 10 hours in a row, it's this is a lot.
I think that's good though to admit that some phases aren't your favorite. I don't love the baby phase. That's I think a reasonable thing to say and not feel guilty about. Doesn't mean you don't love him. It just means this isn't really all that fun.
Oh no, they'd ask, and then maybe for a dude it's different too than a female, I'm sure. Where it's the first. I don't like the hospitals. The hospital setting sucks in general, and they're great. All of the nurses and Scott Froshey is ridiculous compared to what I imagine most of the country looks like. They have a spa there.
Right.
They have a kid. It's insane. They bring you the birthday cake for the kid.
Right.
It's from LGO.
Yeah.
This is the most bougie shit of all time. So with that, I just don't like it's just not a home type setting.
Of course.
And it's new for me. You don't know what to expect. It's uncomfortable. And then you go home and it's just not sheer panic, but you're we really don't know what the hell is going on.
Right.
So, and there's no interaction. He doesn't really want me. Right. He wants the mom. So now it's cool because he can mimic your faces. He can laugh and stuff that's fun.
He's a little person.
Yeah. I would say before that, I would say
a blob.
It. Or it's back here. Because it's not really, it is a person, but it just is not my favorite thing.
But some people love babies. They love that,
her sister's
baby.
Oh, this is the greatest. I go, this? I go, this is the pinnacle.
Right.
This is going to be bad for me. I can't do this.
I'm in serious trouble.
Yeah. Well, it'd be more cool if you could do shit. Hey, can you throw a ball? Can we wrestle around a little bit? Man stuff.
Right.
So no, I get that. No, I like all that. And again, I think all that's great. And for us, it was just easier because I'm logistically, if this lady can come to our house,
sure.
My wife works from home.
Yeah.
So then you can see him 68 times throughout the day.
Totally.
And it's just a nice reprieve if you can do that.
Yeah.
And the moms who stay at home the whole time, bless your heart, dude. I would rather come to work.
Yeah.
I don't mean that negatively. Like
Yeah.
I like playing with them
Right.
for like a good amount of time, but I don't want to do
Everything
that.
has its pros and cons, and I think every family's got to figure out what works best for them. You know,
Yeah.
in all of the different arenas, financially, emotionally, physically, all the things.
My wife would go nuts.
Yeah.
She would lose her shit.
My first friend to have a baby said, "I'm a better mom because I work." And I was like, good for you for knowing that. She's like, I drive like a bat out of hell to get home, but I am better because I go to work. And I was like, that's good.
Well, it reminds me of, and this is probably a bad example. I got a dude here. He's divorced, and so he has his kids like half the time, and they're like older now. They're basically almost done with high school. But he's like, it's the best, dude, because I can go with my girlfriend to Mexico. We can hang out like we're single, or just like dating, and then I come back, and my kids are happy to see me. It's this whole thing, and so they're going like kind of like 4 days on, 3 days off, that type shit. And I'm like, that was like the first person I heard like keep it real, where I'm like, yeah, that does sound kind of sweet, dude, too. Because it's like you get your old life and then you have this new life. And maybe you appreciate it even more.
Sure.
Because you don't get it's like kind of like probably be married. If I could be married, like, I don't mean like in this way, not like go hook up with chicks, but like if Heather's just gone like a couple days,
Sure.
and I think she thinks the same of me, or it's like, oh, if I can be by myself for a few days, just me and the dog, and then Jeremy comes back, there's an appreciation there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like the nanny daycare.
Because there really isn't a break with parenting. I mean, it's 24/7,
And you still
365.
think about it.
Yeah, totally.
You're just not having to deal with them
Right.
spitting up on you
Right.
or peeing on the TV.
Right.
Because that's the thing too with a dude. Like they piss.
They do.
It's a stream.
Right.
So he pees like it's in like a rainbow. Yeah. Learning that the hard way too. Let me get to these before I forget them.
Yeah.
The vaccine shit. That's the big one for most of the questions that I got on here.
Yeah.
I guess like blanket off the top, like the current like the vaccine schedule in general. Like what do you guys follow it? I know there's the normal schedule, there's like the delay schedule, and then the other like the Dr. Sears has like an alternative schedule. What do you kind of go by?
So I'm an MD, so I recommend the CDC schedule. But I think most pediatric practices now require families to get vaccines in order to stay in the practice. I think because I took care of kids with special needs, I have a hard time forcing a parent to do something that they're uncomfortable doing, even if I think it's the right recommendation. And when I took care of kids with special needs, it was a group decision, even, if that kid needed a G-tube to help them with feedings and the family didn't want it, we said, okay. So I think... So I recommend the full CDC schedule. I think it's the right schedule. I think we're fighting some really awful diseases with good vaccines. Having said that, I am happy to work with families to get them to do whatever they're not mine, right? I got to make all these hard decisions with mine. You get to make all your hard decisions with yours. And so I want you to feel good about that. And I want to be a part of the healthcare team, which is why this model that I'm doing works, because you and I could sit and have an hour-long conversation in your living room about why we do vaccines, what we want to work with, what you're comfortable with, what makes sense. Great. And so there's a lot of play in that, which I appreciate because we can have some good conversations. I think most people are vaccine hesitant, not vaccine resistant, like completely anti-vax.
For sure.
I think they just don't know. Again, going back to social media and all the things, there's so much data out there that it's hard to parse through what actually makes sense. And so I think it's good to have conversations, and I can have that with my patients because I have the time to be able to do it.
And so like these other practices, you basically have to just do all
What
of
they
them.
say. They don't require every one. They typically require the ones you can kind of get in the waiting room. So like any respiratory viruses, but they require you to get them, and they'll not continue to see you. And I get that from a public health standpoint. I understand why we need to do that. It doesn't feel good as a pediatrician to force a parent to do something, to force them, right? I think I can get you there. I think we can talk about it, and I think I can convince you, but it doesn't feel good to say it's either my way or you have to go. That just doesn't feel good to me.
And like if, I guess at most practices, if you're like, I don't want to do this, there's not even because they don't have time.
Right.
To really even have a conversation.
They could have a
with you.
conversation, this is the right thing to do. And, let's come back or whatever. But you run the risk that they'll discharge you from the practice because you're not following their guidelines.
And it's probably not even, again, I'll go back to, it's probably like a system thing where you might be Dr. Johnson in the practice, and you might kind of think some of these are, I don't want to say bullshit. I might, but he doesn't really have an opinion. I don't want to say it that way. He probably doesn't care if you do some of them or not do some of them, but because the house says it,
correct.
He just has to, he's an employee, essentially.
He is, and I think that there's some gray zone. Again, families may have a thing about, I don't want to do hepatitis B.
That's the one where it's like, it's explained to me like if your kid's like playing in a park and like hits some needles, maybe the needles have them, or like
right, and you don't know what your future sexual partners are going to have been exposed to, and whatever. Again,
but they do that shit early.
They do because it is a good vaccine because it really does prevent cirrhosis and liver loss. So it is a good vaccine, but again, those are conversations that we can have. So if I can't get the CDC schedule, and a family wants to do an alternate schedule, I'll take whatever I can get.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever I can get, whatever you're comfortable with is what I want. If I can get you to do all of them, awesome. If I can only get you to do 5 of them, well, that's 5 more than nothing. So I'll take it.
And the delayed schedule is just what? You're doing the same thing? You're just pushing out the windows?
Yeah. So again, families have different things that they are worried about. Sometimes they don't want to give it too many shots or too many at once, like too many antigens at once.
Yeah.
So they want to break those up. Sometimes they just want to space them out for, they think that it's too many things. So it really just depends on, or too many pokes at once, like actual shots. So
because they do lose it when you poke them. They do. Yeah.
They do. But I always tell families, and COVID, this was one of the ways that COVID kind of helped us, is that people started to understand their immune system. So think of when we came out of COVID and everybody got sick, right? Everybody's back to work and everybody is sick. You're back, you get colds, you were sick for like 6 months. You hadn't been sick in a year and a half, whatever. That's because we had been isolated and our immune system was depressed. You come out into the community, live among your people, and you get all those cold viruses that you've had a million times before, but you were way sicker than than you had been last March or whatever.
Yeah.
That's because your immune system was low. It took a long time for it to ramp up and build the antibodies to then start fighting infection. So what they found with vaccines is the more antigens we give a baby at once, so you give 6 or 8 at once, their immune system revs up right away and makes all the antigens so it's primed and ready to fight whooping cough if that's what comes its way, or to fight pneumonia or whatever. So it's the same sort of idea. That's how the immune system works. So delaying it just makes that ramp much slower, much less steep.
Okay.
It'll get you there, but it just, if a baby then gets exposed to whooping cough, they may get sicker because they don't have as much immune response versus because they haven't had the antibodies, or they haven't had the vaccine.
And the delay stuff is more, it's like what? Like developmental they're worried about, some people, I guess?
So some people worry about developmental stuff. I mean, some people worry about, they've got some misinformation about what's in the vaccines. Everybody's a little bit different. And so, I have conversations with families about what is it? What are the things that you're worried about? I just had a mom say to me, it seems like so many more vaccines. And I said, what year were you born? And she said 2000. And I said, there has not been a new vaccine for a baby since 2000. So the same vaccines you got in 2000 are the same ones you're getting today in 2025.
But for like us, it's different.
It's different only in, there are a few new ones, hepatitis B, chickenpox, right? Chickenpox is 95, or I think it started in 95. HPV is one that was the cervical cancer vaccine that we give to teenagers. That was like, I think, 2011, maybe 15 years ago, something like that. But really, the vast majority have been around at least 20 years. So these kids who are having babies at 25, 26, 27, those are the vaccines you got. So you're not getting anything more. Rotavirus, which is a diarrhea illness, and that one I could be convinced you don't need to get. I mean, again, I'm trying to get the respiratory ones. I'm trying to get those ones across that really hammer babies. that babies get sick from.
Like, what are the catastrophic? I guess, like, because what's the Tdap is like the shit.
Tdap, so whooping cough is a big one.
Because I had to go to CVS for that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only thing that we're like, hey, if you get it, it's terrible. I don't know the catastrophic ones, I guess.
So if you get it, you get a really bad cold that you cough nonstop. It's really annoying and irritating. It's like a long-lasting cough. But if a baby gets it, I just took care of a kid in the hospital. I think she was there for 4 weeks. She was 6 weeks old, so she hadn't gotten her first set of vaccines. Somebody in her house gave her whooping cough, and she was in the hospital for 4 weeks, just on oxygen and couldn't eat. And so that's devastating. And she wasn't intubated in the ICU, but she was on the floor, and that means you're sleeping in the hospital for a month. And I mean, they're terrible diseases, and babies have zero immune system. They just go sideways right away because they've never seen it. They've never been exposed to it. They have no reserve. So whooping cough is terrible. Pneumonia, which a pneumococcal vaccine fights, is terrible. Hib, which is part of a combination vaccine, is a bacterial infection that affects the epiglottis, that closes the epiglottis, which makes them not able to breathe. Terrible. Polio. We had a case of polio in 2022, I think, 21 in New York. So, I mean, we're still, if COVID taught us anything, it's that we are a traveling world, right?
Yeah.
Still out in the world, still can get it.
Polio. I remember that. We filmed a thing for Men's Health, and we're like, this is off topic. We're filming this video, and we're dying in the video, and it's just like a million squats. And I'm just doing the squats, and like my buddy BJ is the audio on it. And he's like, if we cured polio, we can do some squats. And then there's like 8 camera guys there, and they're like, he's like, oh, we haven't cured polio. No. He's
Smallpox.
like, he's like, we can still do some squats anyway. So I'm like, off topic. So my wife had sent me the Dr. Sears vaccine schedule. That's just is it the same? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, it is. I think there's some that aren't on there. I don't think polio is on there. I don't think IPV is on there.
This is a big.
It's like, I think it's.
Or polio is like 18 months or something. It looks like a different.
Yeah, so it's just separating them out a little bit. Polio is a little bit older. Sorry, I was thinking there's another alternate schedule. This one looks like, he is just separated. He's a pediatrician, and he just has separated it all out. He's got less data, I think, than than a lot of the big studies do. But again, if this is what I can get a mom to agree to,
you're cool with that.
I'm good with it. Because I feel like it's better than nothing. I want your kid vaccinated, and however we can get there, let me get you across the finish line.
And I'm sure, like, what is there, like, if a parent comes, I mean, does anybody, because I look at, like, if it is like safety studies or different things that people like request and want access to, like, I think in terms of supplements, like where I have an ENT surgeon I work with, and he's like a legit genius. Mm-hmm. He'll read every fucking pamphlet. It's wild, dude. Like 80 pages.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, I'll take this creatine. I'm like, dude, there's 1,000 studies. But he'll actually read it. So if a parent came in and like, is there safety studies on the vaccines? Like, is that a thing? Like people can
there's
request?
lots of,
it seems like it obviously, like I'm sure it's rare.
It is rare. And what we're hedging against is that the disease is worse than the side effects, right? And that's not always the case, right? Anytime you give anything, there's always a risk of side effects. I'll tell you, I haven't had a kid that I can remember that has had a negative reaction to a vaccine, like a permanent negative reaction.
Yeah.
Seizures, where you think, okay, we're never going to give a tetanus again or whatever. I haven't seen that. I've not seen a kid lose developmental milestones after a vaccine. So was walking and no longer walking, was talking, no longer talking. And so the risk of whooping cough is a real deal. And I've seen that, and I know the disease is bad. So to me, hedging the bet, what you're risking by doing no vaccines or an alternate schedule is you're risking that the disease is better, that the disease won't get you. Right? The risk of what you're risking when you take the vaccine is you're risking the side effects. So it's just a different risk profile when you decide not to do the vaccines, and families are sometimes willing to do that. Okay. I mean, that's their choice. That's their prerogative. Again, this is your child, your baby. You get to make those hard decisions.
And do most house, I guess, like if it's like a like a clinic or whatever, everybody kind of has to do it, and it's just the part of the game. And if they don't, they have to find someone like you, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's sort of the progression of private pediatric practices is that they're forcing. I put that in quotations. People.
But you are like to be part of the club. You have to do these.
You have
things.
to do these vaccines.
Or
I think the way they kind of make it a little more tenable is we won't make you do all of them, but we're going to make you do the vast majority of them.
Yeah. Which is it? Are they? I'm assuming they're typically the big ones.
Yeah, there's like the DTaP, Hib, polio, Prevnar, MMR, chickenpox, not the hepatitis are usually the ones.
Well, because that's what I'd ask too. Like, and the way you explain it makes sense to me. Like, if you're like, hey, Jeremy, it's the COVID vaccine. You need to get this or you'll get COVID. I don't give a fuck. Like, this is Jeremy's 2 cents. Nobody else. I'm like that. If it gets me, bro, it's all over forever. That's how I feel like I'm like Bruce Willis from Unbreakable. Even though I look like him, I feel like that's like what happened. I go in the moment, who knows? And then later on, you don't know that stuff either as a parent, I guess, because you're worried. Again, when you go down the Google rabbit hole, everything. Right. That's what I would tell anybody. When you're going to Google like medical symptoms, if you're just trying to get general information, sure. None of it's positive.
Right.
It's the way it's no offense. This is how I feel about going to the doctor. I'm going to go here. If I feel fine going here, the only good thing that's going to happen is I walk out feeling the same. Right. Otherwise, you're giving me just shit information. Right. Because like, your numbers are good. Well, I felt fine anyway.
Right.
Actually, you know what? Your LDL is to this. Or like, well, now I think I got a problem. Right. But I think
now I might be a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. So the internet is just a worse version of that. But is there like a general like side effects kids get, or what's the biggest worry? Is because I know people will say like, well, whether it's the milestone stuff or autism and things like that. Like, I don't know the connection to that. I know that's a huge fear for parents.
I mean, I think the MMR there was a study that was done about 20 years ago. It was on 12 kids. I think it was done at his child's birthday party. It has since been discredited. He's lost his license. The journal pulled it. It's been duplicated. It's never been replicated. That MMR causes autism. It was a terrible study. But the damage is done. The bell is rung, and we cannot unring it. And, measles is a bad whammer jammer. It is a bad illness. And that vaccine has been around almost 60 years. So we've got so much data on millions of people that have gotten this vaccine and have done well. I mean, I think there have been 3 deaths in 2025 from that outbreak that happened in Texas. And that there have not been any deaths from 2000 to 2024. So the 3 deaths exceeded the deaths from 2000 to 2024. So we're seeing, that's why they say it's an outbreak. Now, 3 deaths is not a lot of deaths in the world of children. There's millions of children. But if it's your 3, it's a lot of deaths. Yeah. And so, it's just, we have so much data on it. And I just don't think that they haven't been able to replicate it, that MMR causes autism. The diagnostic criteria for autism has widened over the last several years. So the kids that you used to say were, were institutionalized in the 50s, probably all, would qualify under this diagnostic criteria now.
Yeah.
So it seems like autism is on the rise, but it's probably just that we've opened up the criteria for it.
Well, I don't know, like a lot of that too. Like, I don't remember that as a kid, if it was a thing, or if like, obviously I think I have something wrong with me. But I don't know what it is. And so I just assumed like this is my perfect level of fucked upness to just function in the world.
This is your picadillo, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, and I don't know, like if there's like the ADD, ADHD type things. Like, sure, in school, when I'm sitting there and you're teaching me like the periodic table, I don't give a shit. I think it's dumb, and I'm daydreaming about chicks or sports or whatever. I don't care, and I can't focus, and I'm a terrible student. But if you get me and it's like, hey, we're going to talk about like basketball or bodybuilding or 90s hip hop, like, yeah, dude, I'm going to remember
every... Or 90210.
Oh, my God, dude.
Right there.
Brandon Walsh.
Right there.
Peach Pit Employee of the Month. Like, I'll tell you, I can name every character for you now. It's the same, like, those things are important to me. But I couldn't tell you, like, anything from geology class. Right. And so I guess that's my question is, like, we didn't look for anything, like, maybe back then and now. Even, like, I guess, do you have a take on that? Like, the ADD, ADHD, like, obviously, it's like, it's a real thing. Some people have it, but you would have probably labeled me as that as a kid. I just didn't give a shit.
I think it is probably an overly diagnosed diagnosis. Like, people come in, because everybody wants a quick fix, right?
Well, like like a kid, not to interrupt you, but like a boy. Like we take, and this is my take on, and I'm not a school fan, so sorry everybody who's listening. If you're a teacher, bless your heart, it's great work what you do. But we fuck everybody up. Like you're like a young boy. Now sit in single file, be quiet, sit in a chair 8 hours a day, stare up here, listen to this bullshit that you could get on your phone in 15 seconds. But you're meant to like go play in the mud and run and jump and like to do all these things. And well, he's just not paying attention. Well, maybe they don't care, bro.
Right. Or maybe exactly. It's not interesting to them.
Yeah.
So I think that I do think that there are kids who truly do
100%.
have a diagnosis and do need help. Do I think it's overly diagnosed? Yes.
Because it's an easier.
Yeah. I think that I was just talking about it with some girlfriends and they were like, oh, I wonder if my college student has it. And I was like, probably not. I mean, if he's done school and has done well and all of a sudden now we can't focus, then we're looking for kind of a quick fix of we just might need medication. If you said to me, oh no, he's always had trouble, like from when he hit kindergarten, he could never focus. Well, maybe he does have the issue. So I think it's good to be evaluated like subjectively, actually, or objectively, actually have people actually do intakes and see. But yeah, I think it's probably an overdiagnosed illness. That having said that, do I have kids who are on medication? Yeah. And do they do well on it? Yeah, they do. And do they need it? Yeah.
Well, that's my take with most things. Like, there's something like that'll work for everybody. Sure. Like, I'm not against supplements or certain like medications and some things, but I guess I do when I think about like whether it is the autism stuff or anything, how little we tracked in 1987
Agreed.
versus today.
Well, and the kids were kind of labeled the bad kid, right? The kid that couldn't sit still, the kid that was always in trouble, always in detention, whatever. I mean, yeah, we're trying to put him in a different bucket now. So I think to be cautious about the diagnosis is wise. I mean, I certainly have I've not given medication if I didn't think the kid had it.
Absolutely, yeah, needed it.
Or if it didn't seem crystal clear, both from the teacher's perspective and the mom's perspective, I was like, well, then we're not going to put your kid on medication that they don't need.
When I think that's in general medicine, that becomes, again, when you see 30 people in a day, whether it's adults or kids, well, hey, Joe, here's an antidepressant, go about your day. And it's like, well, there's no behavior mod, there's no other, like, right. That's kind of that's the hard part.
Right. That there should be, and that's what, like, this model is nice because we can take time to follow up and, I can call in 2 days and how are we doing now and that, there's a lot more just time given to get a kid where they need to be than in an office setting where you can't do that.
Well, yeah, I've said this on here, like probably to every doctor that we talk to. It's like in a perfect world, you would go and see your physician, and then you would have a behavior modification person like right there, and then you would do
and a nutritionist and
and you'd go to like an assembly line.
Totally.
Like here's door number 1, 2, 3, and then you have a whole kind of a plan. Which we got a guy. He does like stem cell. It's like all the bone marrow, PRP, like all that.
Oh yeah.
But it's I'll have him on in like a month. I just talked to him the other day. But it's a whole team. And now he doesn't do it all, but that's kind of the protocol.
That's great.
And it's like, that would be, no, obviously it's not, it's cheap for what it is, I guess, but it is a ton of money to a normal person. And that's kind of the problem is like, it would cost you an arm and a leg to do that.
Right. But it is good health. It is good care, right? Because it's taking care of the whole person, not just one part of the.
Well, no, and that's where we do get now physicians who come in, even ones who are just treating like general, whether it's the knees are bugging you, hip, ankle, shoulder. It's like, hey, do you smoke? Do you drink? What is your food like? Because if we can get that inflammation to go away, like maybe some of these things like right themselves.
Right.
Which I don't ever remember hearing that 10 years ago from anybody.
No.
Which is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
If I do ask, like, I guess, well, you kind of answered it, like where some of these questions were, like when a parent like refuses like a vaccine for kids. Like, so if you had a parent to come in and they're like, I don't want to do any of them. You're like, cool.
Okay. I mean, I try to have those conversations at every visit. Like, are we changing anything? Is anything, do you have any questions? A true anti-vaxxer, I don't think I've ever changed their mind. No. Somebody who's like, absolutely not. I want none. I'm like, I'm probably not going to change their mind. Families are usually more like, I just don't think I want to do it right now. Could we talk about it again next time? Is there, some, Great. Those are conversations I'm happy to have because those are people who are willing to have a conversation about it and maybe learn something new. I do usually refer people. Children's Hospital of Philadelphia has a really nice vaccine education website, and it's all kind of about the evolution of vaccines and why we do what we do and what is in them and all that stuff. That's not pharmaceutical based. That's not CDC based. That's not NIH based. It's just really this is the science behind it. So I think that helps families sort of get information that's not biased, which is, it's biased in the sense that they want you to vaccinate, but it's not it's about the science of why we do it, how the immune system works. It's just tons of data in there, which I think is kind of a nice place to at least start.
And have you ever had anybody who's had none, or I don't want to do zero?
Yeah.
That's real too.
That's real. And that puts your kid at risk.
Yeah. Well, zero just seems, I guess, is there, because then the questions would be again, I learned a lot in the last, obviously, 4 months. Because even your kid goes in, gets circumcised, he needs, vitamin K. Yeah, so his dick doesn't bleed out all over the place. Okay, that makes sense to me.
But people refuse that as well. And that puts your baby at risk for stroke. I'm always listen, in addition to not getting a circumcision, which maybe your daughter doesn't have to have, stroke, babies have strokes at up to 6 weeks of age with no vitamin K. That's real. And every pediatrician has seen that. Every pediatrician has taken care of a baby in the NICU who had a stroke. And those babies are devastated.
That's crazy, man.
It's crazy.
I didn't even know that happened.
And vitamin K, it's a one shot. Can't get it from food, can't get it from sunlight, can't get it from breast milk. It's not artificially made. You have to give it. And people refuse that too. So, and again, I think this is just the distrust of medicine in general, but it's sort of trickling down. My husband's always I can't believe it. Wouldn't people spend all their money on their kids? And wouldn't they do everything? I'm families are not, that's not the information that they're getting, and they're distrustful, and it's hard.
Well, and I get the part of it where because again, it's my general consensus, with most doctors, are most, anything, there's shitty pilots. There's shitty teachers. There's shitty people who do what I do. There's shitty doctors too, because somebody has to be the last guy. You know what I'm saying? Someone has to be who I don't know who you are. There's got to be the shittiest pediatrician in Scottsdale. He's out there, or she's out there, whatever.
Right.
Maybe not by choice. It's just, if you're the worst guy in the NBA, you're still a pro. You're just not LeBron, dude.
Right.
So I think of that, but I do think there's, the incentive of the pharmaceutical industry is they're trying to make money. Bro.
Totally.
And you can pull every, kind of docudrama or drama where it's they're trying to just make dollars.
Totally.
And I get that, where there's a hesitancy of hey.
Right. Is this pharmautically driven? Is this financially motivated?
Yeah.
Totally. Agreed.
And I think people sometimes think that of the hospital. If the hospital pushes these shots, do they get more money?
Right.
I don't know if that's a thing.
I will tell you that vaccines are not a moneymaker for pediatricians, because people think that, you're making money on vaccines.
How would it work? It would be the company would pay you directly?
No. So you as a
that seems bonkers. That seems like it'd be illegal.
You as a private practice. So let's say you're a solo practitioner. You like me, and I don't carry vaccines. So I don't purchase them because I have to purchase them in a box of 10, which means I have to have 10 families who want those. If I don't, which cost, let's say, $10,000. I don't take insurance, so I would then have to have the families pay for that. But let's say I'm in private practice, and not as a DPC, but as a private practice.
Yeah.
I'm one doc. I buy this $10,000 worth of vaccines. I submit to the insurance company. I put in there. I gave them, Vaxelis and Prevnar and rotavirus. We also had an MA administer those, so that's a $15 administration fee. The insurance company pays me back exactly, or maybe 1 cent lower than what I paid for those vaccines. So I could either make money or barely lose money. Maybe I make maybe I make pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I have to store these 10 vials in a refrigerator that has a generator attached to it, because if it goes out, all that money is lost.
Trash.
I've put out the money, and I'm not getting reimbursed for that. The pharmaceutical company doesn't pay me back if those expire or go bad, or there's an outage.
Yeah.
That's all the risk that I'm assuming. So you don't make money as a pediatrician. You don't make money on vaccines. And so there's no financial motivation. The only reason pediatricians are pushing vaccines is because we feel like it's the right thing to do for kids, right? We're all just so about kids staying healthy. And really, pediatrics is all about preventative care, right? Adult medicine is not. It's all about reactive care. All of pediatrics is preventative. Let's not get your kids sick. Let's not have a speech delay. Let's not, like, we're all about all this preventative stuff. So it's not financially motivated at all. That is a misnomer, and that is unfortunate.
So like with your kids, you were just like, and it's probably different for you because you know so much more than I. Like, I'm a dummy. It's like fitness. If you came in here, like,
right.
you know how to exercise.
Sure, right.
It's just I've forgotten more stuff than you'll know.
Right.
And the same thing in your world. Like, I could study for the next 10 years and I wouldn't know how to, because you have too many hours.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at it, like with your kids, is it the same thing where you're like, okay, this is the schedule I want to follow. Like, this seems fine. Like, because you probably would you take your kid to a different?
I did.
Yeah.
I took him to a different pediatrician, and yes, I did the same schedule that I recommend because I felt like it was the right. And that's what I say to families. This is what I gave my kids. I mean, this is what I think is the right thing to do,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to put my kids' health on the line for it. So, yeah. I mean, I think it's safe. We have so much data. I do think families were cautious, and rightfully so, about the COVID vaccine. And I can remember a attending of mine who was much older, like he retired within a year of me training with him, said, "Don't ever do a new vaccine. Give it a year." And I thought, oh, this is from a guy who's done, 40 years of medicine. So, I mean, I think that it's, right for parents to be cautious about new vaccines. But the newest vaccine is like 15 years old. So we're not talking about things that are really new anymore.
Well, I think it's the cool part is like, you're like, you'll give them the data. You can, speak to it from your own kids, but also from the standpoint of like, do it if you want to, but you don't have to. And I think the COVID shit specifically, because they're like, hey, you got to do this or you can't eat at a restaurant. First of all, go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
Like, that's I'm not a fan of that. Like, it'd be the same way if you're like, hey, we're going to take away cigarettes, even though like I don't think they're great and I would tell you not to smoke. If you want to smoke 4 packs a day, bro, this is America, dude. Like, as long as it doesn't mess with me, I don't give a shit. That's kind of my take with
the COVID vaccine. Was unfortunate because it really just it just bled down into peds. Already we were sort of like trying to climb up the hill and we were so close. 95% of kindergartners are fully vaccinated, and I think now it's like 92% or something. It's like we're just sliding back, and I think that's because families were like, "Fuck off."
Yeah.
The pediatrician said that, like, don't force me to get something I'm not comfortable with. And then I think that then became the pushback for MMR and for DTaP and all the things. They're just like, you're not going to force me to do it. And listen, I get that. Like, I don't want to be somebody to tell me what I have to do to my kid.
For sure.
Right. So I get it.
And is there maybe I'm remembering this. I'm old now. So like college seems like, it doesn't seem that long ago. But then when I say the years, I'm like, this is bad.
That's a while ago.
Like, I had a cell phone. It had Snake on it. It was really bad. But you had to do a certain vaccine schedule for college, right? Mm-hmm. Is that still a thing?
Most kids are,
unless it's like a religious exemption
fully
or something,
vaccinated by then. I think have to prove MMR, that you've had the MMR. I think some do chickenpox. There is a meningitis vaccine that's often recommended. I do recommend it because who wants meningitis? And that is something that closes down college dorms. I think those are the ones that, and maybe your tetanus, because you get one at 11 and then again at 21. So they just want to make sure that you've had those.
But like in elementary school, do they have a list around here?
Yeah, they have. No? I mean, the same CDC recommended, ones are the ones for full vaccination for kids is typically, like for babies, is at 4 years of age. So your kid is not fully vaccinated until they're 4. That's the last set of boosters. And so I'm always like, if I can get a kid fully vaccinated by 4, even if I do it on an alternate schedule, that's still a win, right? Like, I've still got a kid fully vaccinated by the time they hit kindergarten. Even if we did it a little bit slower, we had a few more visits, we only did 1 shot at a time, we're still vaccinated. So to me, that's still a win.
I guess like that's so I mean, I don't know enough, right? Like, I wouldn't, because again, it's not that I don't want to know. I just don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like fear and
over-information,
panic every day. But is that the biggest thing where it's like, I'm just worried about my kid getting something they didn't have or like being delayed, like for most parents? If you see like when you get people who come in and say, hey, these are the ones we don't want to do, and they have like a general reason, or is it just an overall, like, I guess, do they have a specific reason versus just like a general fear?
I guess in my mind, it's mostly general fear. Just like we just don't know. We just don't know the information. It's like almost too much information overload. So I can say things like, listen, there aren't heavy metals in vaccines. Thimerosal is out of all vaccines because that used to be the preservative.
Yeah.
There is aluminum in vaccines, but it's a trace amount. Like we eat, I don't know, 8 grams of milligrams of aluminum a day. And I think we get 4 milligrams over 6 months in the childhood vaccines. So it's like, way less amounts. But those are things that families worry about because those are kind of buzzwords. There's no studies that show that heavy metals or aluminum causes autism. I mean, it's just a lot of misinformation and worry.
And like the biggest like general side effects are just
Usually they're like mild, right? Like a little uncomfortable, a little fussy, little fever, maybe some redness around the area. Anytime you put a needle into the skin, you worry about redness. And usually babies are fine. I mean, a lot of them are fine within that day. Sometimes they have a hard day. Usually the next day they're totally fine.
And like, did you like in like just school and in training in general, and obviously having kids, like, did you look at like you'd go through some of these studies, like you would like read some, and then obviously talk with your, I guess a better question is, I'm assuming you would because that's what you do for work, or maybe you're just like, fuck it. Talk with some of your friends who are pediatricians. Like there has to be, if there's like 10 of you, right? Like, because our fitness circle is whatever. We all generally believe similar things, but we do have differences on ideologies where, I have friends where they're like, hey, do everything this way. And I also, hey, don't ever take peptides or hormones or do whatever. And I grew up in the bodybuilding world where I have friends that do still a shit ton of steroids. They're not dead. They like how they look. And I'm like, as long as your doctor's cool with it, like my take is more so do what works for you. And that's the way I feel with clients here. I'm like, hey man, if you're 70 years old and your stuff sucks, dude, just juice up like Barry Bonds, dude, and like go for it. Do you have that in your world where it's like you believe in this vaccine schedule, but maybe you have a pediatrician friend who's slightly different or has a different ideology?
I think, it's that whole like ask 5 doctors a question and get 6 different answers because most of the time, everybody has a different opinion. Docs just tend to run that way.
Yeah.
Not on vaccines, not pediatricians and vaccines. It's pretty ingrained because, again, it's all about preventing these awful diseases for babies that we've seen, we've taken care of, all of us. That's kind of universal in training. You take care of these bad kids. And so vaccines is I haven't really run into pediatricians
who are like, fuck it.
Yeah, who don't believe in the schedule. Now, have we all dealt with anti-vaxxers? 100%. Have we all dealt with vaccine, hesitant? 100%. Do we all feel like it's a win when we can get somebody who's been on the fence over the fence and they do a vaccine? We're all like, well, all that's universal.
Yeah.
But we as a community, I would say it's the kind of hard and fast rule that we really feel like we are not out here trying to do harm to anybody's kids. That's not why we went into this.
For sure.
We are putting our line, our own children's lives, and we're backing it, and we just feel like it's the right thing to do.
And in terms of like,
but also that's also sometimes not realistic, right? It's like the screen time thing. It's like sometimes you make a recommendation and you can't hold it. So I understand that people, while that's what I recommend, that's what people aren't comfortable doing. And I'm okay with that. I just would love to have the time to have the conversations about why we do what we do.
Well, and I think it's cool too, where you're like, hey, this is your
it's your baby.
Kid. It's your journey. And if you have a thesis for why you believe this and this is what it is, and if you're cool with, I always say, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Right.
For some stuff where I'm like, well, I could, if you want to, I guess it's not like I'm allergic to bee stings, I guess. They say I should carry an EpiPen. I live dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that's dumb. Maybe it's whatever I go, but I'm willing to
take the risk,
roll the dice.
Right.
I feel like that's kind of with these things too. If you're like, yeah, the odds are my kid won't get it or this and this, like, I totally understand that. And I guess it's nice to hear you kind of frame it that way too, where it's not, that's kind of my take with it, is the forcing of it. Yeah. That would be, I don't want to do that to anybody in general. And I wouldn't want anybody to do it to me.
Especially about your kid. Like, right, you'd be almost more willing to do it. Like, fine, I'll be forced to do the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. Like I'm
not. And this again, this differs from the AAP, and I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for that. But I do not recommend the COVID vaccine. That's controversial, but that's one that I don't recommend for my families, and especially if they're vaccine hesitant. I'm like, that's one I can easily take off your plate. I will have a hard time if the COVID vaccine doesn't have better data, doesn't have better studies in children.
Yeah.
And that becomes part of the recommended CDC schedule. I'm going to have a hard time doing my job because that's not one that I personally, and this goes against the AAP and the CDC, but I personally don't feel like it has been well studied in kids.
No, the whole thing was a shit show.
It was a shit show, and it was when the myocarditis stuff hit, and they said it was not a big deal in teenage boys. And I mean, if I had a son, I would not booster the kid. I mean, I don't think it's been well studied. And again, talk to me in 5 years, I could have a totally different perspective on it because it may have had really good data that's been properly studied. But in kids who tended to do completely fine,
yes,
and were sick, not that they didn't get sick, they got sick, but tended to be fine in recovery, I think it wasn't a great thing for us to recommend it to kids.
Yeah, that's like juice is not worth the squeeze.
Yeah, and I know that you're probably going to get some hate on that, but I had a hard time with it. And listen, if families wanted it, I was like, sure. And my kids were in college, and I didn't think that they should get it, but they all got it. And I said, that's your right because one of them couldn't go back to school until she had it. And I was like, but I'm not signing any form, right? You're adults. You can consent yourself, and that's great. But I had a hard time with it.
Well, that's the cool thing is like if you do have to me, it's just the choice of being able to do it.
Agreed.
And then as a parent, probably the hard part. I mean, with that stuff, it's knowing. It's the believing of the resources. And
well,
it's
and if people were afraid, and I get it. Like if that felt like you could do something to prevent your kid getting sick, great. I mean, again, we were trying to prevent an illness, which is what PEDS is all about. And I was surprised by how readily families jumped on the COVID vaccine, but wouldn't do the MMR. I was like, COVID's only been out 6 months, this vaccine, and MMR has been out 60 years.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the data, let's do the ones. And again, if they wanted it, I was happy to give it.
Yeah.
Because I think most kids did do fine, but some didn't.
So in terms of like, if it is, like, is there ingredients like in a vaccine, like any like parents should know if their kid like has like allergies and stuff? Is there things like
No, so eggs are very low and not shown to have any. If you are allergic to eggs, you do still fine with the egg components in the vaccines, MMR and checkbox. So no.
That's like the biggest thing probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know people would ask that.
Egg protein. Yeah. They used to have, let's maybe do those vaccines in the allergist's office. They've stopped all of that. And, just because we're also doing allergens earlier in diet. So, like in babies. And so we're introducing those allergens early. So you kind of know if your kid's going to have a really bad reaction to eggs, you already kind of know before they're a year old. So, but no, there's nothing that, and I've never seen an anaphylactic reaction to a vaccine.
And that's probably the biggest one in terms of like medical history and stuff you look at with those things, right?
An egg allergy.
Or is there any other one that would?
No, I mean nothing. I haven't seen anybody that has had true allergy. I think there is some concern with tetanus and seizures and stuff, but that's more of just intolerance, not an allergy. But no, nothing specific in the ingredients. The proteins are really low, and vaccines have gotten so good at being made. I think the smallpox vaccine had like 200 proteins for each vaccine. And now we give in all of the vaccines like less than 180 or something. So like just the technology has gotten better. So we're giving such small amounts of things that people can be allergic to. It's very, very minuscule.
Yeah, the vaccine stuff is, I mean, the most questions I've ever got.
I know. It's because it's a big topic and rightfully so. And I don't think it's a bad idea for countries to look at how they're doing data and maybe look at how other countries do it. I had a family who had a baby in Norway and they pulled up their vaccination schedule and it was actually just the same as the one we did. And they were like, Europe does it so differently. And I was like, I mean, they give the vaccines at maybe 3 months and not 2 months, but otherwise the schedule is exactly the same. So but I don't think that that's a bad thing. That's what science should do. It should relook at data and relook at studies and reinvestigate. We have more information. But we do have a ton of data about vaccines and just longevity of giving them and the safety of the efficacy. And so I'm pretty confident that they're safe.
Yeah. It's well, and I think like when you look at everything, like, and again, it's your kid, so it's like the most important thing.
Of course,
pretty much.
Of course,
I don't want to say you own, but
yeah,
kind of.
But in your life, like this is the biggest decisions you'll make.
And it's weird, and this is not a judgment thing. And I think this goes back to like the breastfeeding and the formula type stuff, because there is like, I'm team breastfeeding, and then formula is dog shit, and you're a shitty parent if you do formula, and you're a great mom if you breastfeed, and wherever camp you fall in or somewhere in between, all good to me. But some of the same people where it's like breastfeeding is the only thing, your kid's 6, eating Takis and Milky Ways for breakfast. Like, we just stopped giving a shit.
Right.
Like, that's the weird part too, where I don't know enough about like all the vaccine stuff and all the supplements and vitamins and foods. It all has to be connected. Like, everything is together, right? So it's like the amount of like plastics we just inhale every day, and there's all the, like, you can't, if you read everything all day, you're just in a fear bubble.
Of course.
And it's like, I guess my take is like, you just do the best you can.
You do the best you can with the information you've got, knowing that you're going to make mistakes. I mean, every human does, every parent does. It's going to happen. You just do it in good faith, right? Like, this was the information we had at the time.
And just try to avoid the catastrophic ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And the stuff that that's bad, I mean, you try to avoid. I mean, just do the best you can.
Yeah. Is there any, I'll do like maybe 2 more of these. I'll get you out of here.
No,
is there like any other common myths like you would debunk for parents, like out there, like things that they're like, yeah, these are the things that we believe, or these are the things that are just over the top, or anything where you see it where it's like it's a fear that they have that really shouldn't exist?
Gosh, that's a good question.
I mean, sure, there's a ton of shit because people come in with the internet all day.
Yeah. I mean, some of it I would say, particularly to new moms, like this, I don't want to make this sound as trite as it does, but I just want to say it's not that deep. Like, you're overthinking it. You're showing up, you're doing your best, you're feeding them, you're holding them, you're loving on them, you're doing great. Like, black and white cards, and we have to do all this interaction with them, and you're doing great. Like, don't overthink it. You're doing great. You can't hold them too much. You can't love them too much. You can't but is there anything specific? Not that I can really think of. I mean, I do tend to think that moms sort of in this generation recently kind of have a lot of anxiety about doing it, quote unquote, right.
Oh yeah, dude. It's, I've never, and my wife is not really, I mean, she is where she would get into some of the weeds of certain things, and I'm like, of all the things we can worry about, like, who gives a shit? But again, I'm a dude. And
and there are bigger things, like worry about drugs and, like, I don't know, like things that you really don't want your kid to get into. And the rest of it, just love on them and do your best.
Yeah. Well, I just think, like, if you just, your response, people are like, how is it being a parent? I'm like, well, I'm responsible. I'm the most responsible person I know. So I'm going to show up. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Exactly.
I'm not a wizard. I can't fix everything. I go, but I'm going to try.
Right.
Like, and so, like, that's all it is.
Right. And maybe you do research and you read and you try to figure out what works, because every kid is different. And so you try this method and it doesn't work, and you try this method and that works better. And so those are all good things. But I think also just giving yourself the grace to be like, I'm doing the best I can. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, that's okay.
And if they seem generally happy and you're doing like the right stuff, like that's all there is.
Right.
Yeah. I don't get into there's way too much info on every single topic.
So much pressure. And I think you're right. The whole comparison thing of like, well, this looks good and that they're doing it right. Nobody's got the key. Nobody's got the, some bad days are really bad and you have terrible parenting moments. And some days you have amazing parenting moments that you just think, oh my God, I'm amazing at this. All of that's normal.
Well, I think if you look at like those people in general, like you could take, we call it snapshots in time. You could look 5 snapshots of me 2 weeks ago, 4 years ago, 22, 18. I'm a shitty fucking person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an awful human. It's in the micro. But in the macro, like, you're doing mostly the right stuff.
Right.
It's just you get to see it on front street. And that kind of with I guess when they look at, like, if your kids are successful, whatever that means, and those types of things. Generally, it's like kind of where you live, the parents that they're around, the kids that they're around, this general consensus of, like, not having them be around just, criminals and drug addicts,
Right.
like fucking common sense. Where we get hung up on like, well, if my kid has a nanny or is in daycare or is in private school,
Right.
I'm like, hey, dude, I grew up a lot of kids, private school kids too. A lot of these dudes are way dumber than me. Like it's something like I think we really put an emphasis like sometimes like on the wrong things.
Yeah, not even the wrong things, but you just don't know. It just seems so important at the time, and it is important in that moment, but ultimately,
And your kids too. I imagine like the way I look at it is like it's like I only can do sports. That's my only analogies. So like this is your team. Like you and your husband coach,
Right.
however you coach.
Right.
You can try to be a different coach, but if you're Phil Jackson, you're just Phil Jackson.
Right.
You're not going to coach like Pat Riley as much as you want to.
Right.
So maybe you're two of your kids. That's really great.
Right.
And for one of them, it sucks.
Right.
And,
For sure.
And they're in the same house,
and you just do the best you can.
same experience,
Yep.
but they're not the same people.
Right.
Like that's what baffles me too, where like my sister, bless her heart, she's the opposite of me in every way. In all of the good ways and all of the bad ways. Same house,
Yep.
same parents,
Yep.
same everything.
Yep.
It's
If
just
you don't believe in genetic, I have triplets, and so if you don't believe in genetics, you need to come to my house because I got really different kids and
all at the same time.
all at the same time, same environment, same schedule, same food, same everything, and 3 really different women who came out of that.
Isn't that crazy?
We did parent differently because they each needed parenting a little different,
Yeah.
but it was still inherently my husband and I. It
Yeah.
was still inherently who
You
we
talk
are.
the same.
Right.
Yeah, it's your
Right.
style's the same.
Right. Our values are the same. I mean, like
Yeah.
we maybe modified how we approached some things, but it was still just he and I.
Yeah.
Like you're all the good and all the bad. That's what you're stuck with.
I do think that's I think it's good for parents to hear that too, just because it's like, well, my mom would say like, well, I don't get why your sister's like this. I'm like, she just was going to be how she was going to be.
She's going to be.
Like, in the good ways, like she can go on an airplane. She's everybody's best friend. I'll fake that my AirPods work. So you don't fucking talk to me. What is that? Same house, same
Yeah,
thing. I'm
totally.
like, I don't want to be your friend.
Right.
She'll be your fucking fake friend
Right.
for 3 hours. Like, I'm not going to do
Great.
that. I'll do
And yet here you are doing a podcast. So,
yeah, I mean, like I do like this though, because
Yeah.
this I get, like the single serving stuff I don't like. Hey, we're in an
Yeah.
elevator. How's your day?
Yeah.
Joe, I don't know you. I don't care
I
how
don't
your
care
day
how
is.
your day
Yeah.
is.
I always say like, not in a negative way. Like if my wife and I like, if we talk about this actually a lot in some weird morbid way. She's like, if I was dead, like what would you do? I'm like, if you died, I'm like, I couldn't like meet another woman. Like I have to like pretend I care what she does for work and shit, and like pretend
Start over.
I'm not gonna talk like this all the time. Like it would just be too much.
Be
dude.
on my best behavior all the time.
Yeah, I gotta like
No.
market myself to her. Like, nah, I don't want to do that, man. It's personality type.
Right, totally.
I'll do these quick. Do you have any like favorite like kids books? Like the popular ones, like is it Carl something?
Oh yeah, Eric Carle. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love Eric Carle.
My
I love
wife does all
Goodnight-
those.
Yeah, I love Goodnight Moon. I loved. Oh God, I just had it. The bull. I'll say it's a red cover, black white bull. I'll think of it. Anyway,
We
yeah,
have all
I mean,
those,
I like
like,
all those.
yeah, the brown bear,
Totally.
like the
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss type
I think
stuff.
your favorite book is what your kid likes to read and what you can tolerate to read multiple times.
Yeah, and do you do like how do you? I guess because our nanny will even like read to him now too, quite a bit. And what does that start like? You just do it right off the jump.
Yeah, and I think just language exposure for a kid, and it can be however. I mean, it can be literally reading a cereal box. It doesn't matter. It's just language, word exposure. So coming home talking about your day to your baby, like, oh, I had a great day, and today I, lifted whatever. I mean, all of that is just word exposure. So also looking at books, all of that is just reading and language exposure. So it all helps with development. So it's great.
Yeah, because we even have like the little ones where it's like they're one words.
Totally.
Like apple.
Apple, turn
beetle,
the page. Yeah,
pear,
great.
yeah.
It's great.
They
That's
seem,
super.
They
Yep.
seem to like it.
Yeah, totally. And I think even like talking about kids when they're a little bit older in the car, I would find myself like silent in the car. And I think that's not really good. Like you should be narrating your day. We're walking to the car. I have on green shoes. This is a red car. We're stopping at the, red light. This is, just all that narration is all good for speech and language development.
And as you started to go through this, like, is there anything where, or I guess is there? Oh, that's the last one. Like something a kid said to you that's just like ridiculous. Like
gosh,
like
all the
the
time.
funniest thing, like where this is
I
like, or just like a
had
random.
a 7-year-old go, or he was a 4-year-old. He goes, "How old are you?" And I go, "I don't know. How old do you think I am?" He goes, "Are you 7?" I go, "Yes, I am."
That's awesome.
As a matter of fact, I am 7.
Where they have no idea.
No clue.
Well, it's weird too as a kid. I still do this kind of as an adult where Monica's kid will come in here. He's like 4 or 5. If it's taller, it's bigger.
Yes.
No matter if it's
Correct.
like it's a little thing, but this is this
Right.
wide. It's taller. And
Yes.
if you're taller,
Yes.
you're older.
Correct.
No matter what.
Right.
Yeah. So if someone's in here like there's a 60-year-old lady.
Yes.
But Jeremy's older.
Yes.
Because he's tall.
So, right.
Yeah.
I love the 3 to 5 year olds. That's my favorite age because they're just so fun and say funny things and like they're just funny.
Well, it's crazy too. Like, and I maybe that's my perspective of now when I see someone who's like, not to be like sad, but like a homeless guy, like on Scottsdale and Shea or something. He was like a baby once.
Right. He's somebody's baby.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And maybe even more so for me, because like having a kid, like you do laugh more, obviously, and you smile more. Because my normal day, if it's just Heather and I, like, yeah, we'll say inappropriate shit, obviously. But for the most part, it's just I'm just like working and you kind of get lost in it. And I'm like, when does that change, right? Because if you look at a 3-year-old, they'll be friends with everybody. Everything's funny.
Right.
And then somewhere along the way, it's like,
I know.
we fucked them up.
I know.
Do you feel that way? Like,
yeah, I feel like the world kind of gets to them. I'm always like, we don't need to be the one to disappoint them with whatever because the world will take care of that. Like the world will put them in their place. So, we can build them up as much as we can because once they hit, I don't know if it's school or.
Because you're taught like where they're not just asking random questions anymore. Maybe because they do know some stuff, but they're not as funny. It's not as like they're not as open.
Yeah.
Where they show up and sometimes the jump for me, I'll see a kid who's here, he's 10. And then they come in and all of a sudden, and I've been doing this for a long time, they're 15 now.
Yeah.
That's a huge, in the 5 years, I just looked older. They're a kind of a kid to an adultish, but now they're quiet.
Yeah.
They're reserved. They're not saying stuff. And I'm like, is that just life or school?
I know.
Kind of like we told them to sit there and just shut the fuck up.
I know. When you can get that kid that still thinks that they're great at 15, I'm always like, that is so awesome. Like, what an awesome ego preservation. Because it doesn't usually happen. Usually
I suck.
Somebody has taken it out of them.
I don't look good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not like all those. Yeah, that is a weird. I do think about that a lot now. Like, when is that? Like, and do you notice it as a parent, like in real time?
Yeah, I think so. Because, I think you see that your kid is, I don't want to say struggling because that's not it. It's like slow, but they're also coming into their own, right? They're uncomfortable in their own bodies. They're awkward. They're, they're independent, but not really. They still need their parents. Like, those teenage years are tricky because they're like grown-ups and babies all in the same body.
Yeah. And the joy just kind of, I don't want to say it doesn't go away.
No, but it's different. It's tempered, maybe.
For sure. Last thing, is there a parenting tip you wish every parent would know other than like, you don't got to take it? I don't want to say you don't have to take it serious.
No, that's, I would say you're doing great. Like if you're even thinking about it, you're doing way more than our parents ever did.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like.
I do believe that.
You're reading a book, you're way above and beyond. So you're trying to, I would say, try to adapt your parenting style to your kid, which might mean it's different for each kid in your house. Like one kid may need the heavy fist or the heavy hand. One kid may need just to be suggestion to make behavior modifications. One kid may just have to learn on their own to make their mistakes. They can't learn from others. They have to make the mistakes. And I would say, and I don't think I did this very well as a parent, but I would say to let your kids fail is really just such a gift to your kids. So that starts in toddlerhood, it starts in baby, having them roll all the way over by themselves, not helping them, having that not putting the tower together all the way, letting them figure it out, not succeed in the tower. Because that all is part of, then when they get it, they have so much more success on their own.
And I think it's, for me, if I think about it, it's like you want it to be like hard for them in some, but like not, life is going to be hard enough.
Sure.
But I think of like,
but figuring it out and knowing how to handle disappointment, whatever that looks like, and frustration are skills that will serve them well the rest of their life. So know that not everything is going to come easily. You're going to have to work at some things hard, and some things you're not going to do well or you're going to fail at, and that's okay too, and you're still going to be fine. So
and like how much do you manufacture of it versus just like, because I think about like where I grew up versus here. Yeah. My kid grew up in Scottsdale. He's going to grow up here. Mm-hmm. What the hell? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's the fakest thing of all time. It just is. Like, there's no way he'll have a different struggle for sure. I'm not saying that. but he's not going to get woken up by his dad at 6 a.m. to shovel the
shovel
driveway.
snow, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I'm even though I'm not like the nicest guy, I'm so much nicer than my dad, right? Like, it's just, I'm softer.
Yeah.
That's the evolution of it. So I do think about that. I'm like, is he just going to be like,
he's not. He's going to be great.
Let me make it rough for him.
It's just, yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to make it rough for him, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I do think about that piece too. And I guess as a parent, part of the number one thing is like, you just don't want to make it so catastrophic where it's like
No, but when I say let them fail, I just mean that like, you know, if they don't turn in their homework, there are consequences to that.
And then like you probably, like for you, if you're like, hey, you download an app, I'm going to take your phone away. You have to actually take the phone away.
Right. Follow through with it.
Otherwise.
I guess my biggest thing would be also pick your battles. Like some safety is always a battle I would pick. So car seat.
Yep.
You know, helmet, bike helmet, holding your hand when you walk across the street, all those sorts of things I would always pick. Everything else kind of doesn't matter, especially in toddler years. If your kid walks out with a tutu and a football helmet and 2 different shoes, that's just a kid that got into the car and that parent was like, those aren't battles I'm willing to fight. And I was like, perfect, fantastic, because it's too much. So pick your battles, make sure that, and then what you pick, you better win.
Yeah. It's like being married, pretty much. Yeah. I like that.
So if you say no milk, and then you think, why do I care if they have milk? So I'm going to give them some more milk. Well, you just lost that battle. So if you pick it, then it's no.
I like that. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
A lot of shit.
No, I know.
Where do these guys, they find you at?
Yeah.
Website,
so
social, anything?
I have a website. It's thevillagepediatrics.com. And that's got my Instagram and phone number and all that kind of stuff. But that's probably the easiest way.
Cool. I'll pull it all. I'll plug it, put it in the show notes.
Thanks.
This is good stuff.
That's great. Thanks. I really appreciate it.
I learned a lot. I don't know anything. So everything to me is a benefit for sure. Right. But this is good stuff, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody else, I'll put everything for her in the show notes here. You guys can pick it up, check it out. If you got a question, shoot it over. She'll hit you guys up. If you guys, again, the app stuff the link is below. If you guys want a free sample of the new AG1 flavors, hit me up. I'm happy to ship that out. If you're on Apple Podcasts, drop it a 5-star, leave a comment. I would appreciate it. If you're on Spotify, same thing. Drop it a 5-star, leave a comment. Anything else, you guys hit me up, let me know. Otherwise, until next time, eat well, train hard, be nice to people, and please, you guys, keep doing shit you love with people you enjoy because your life is too short not to. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.